Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the ANZCAR Cup round 14. I'm Mark Johansson, and with me in the booth tonight we have Steve Hoppett and, of course, Matt Hunter pushing all everyone's buttons. Welcome, Steve, and Matt. How are you both?
I'm great, mate. Thank you very much for asking. I'm very happy to be here and thinking about our poor mate Carl Withy at the moment, who's still suffering for some issues.
Yeah, definitely not a good way. Wouldn't want to be him. So, unfortunately, ladies and gents, you've got the standing guys for the time being, for the near future anyway, until Carl's back up on his feet and back in the driver's seat here and in the booth with Matt. Good evening, Matt. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, yep. So, all three of us tonight, we're all going to give it a go and see if we can put in a good commentary effort to make up for Carl, who's having a few health issues. So, get well soon, Carl.
Yeah, and I know that comes from all the drivers too, Carl. Get well soon, mate. Get back here. I know the boys don't want to listen to my voice 2 nights a week, so get well, stay upright, mate, and get back here as soon as we can. Anyway, tonight, ladies and gents, we're at Charlotte Motor Speedway. This is going to be very interesting tonight, Steve, with a little bit different things happening with the boys going with open setups.
Open setups tonight. That's right, Mark. So they're all on their own. There's no equaliser in this as far as setups is concerned. Although there's always a couple of little things you can change here and there. Brakes and a couple of simple things. But tonight it's all about the setup, the entire setup. So we'll see who's actually got their hands on a good one and a bad one. Could actually make a bit of a difference to the way it mixes the field up tonight too over the period of the race. Since it is a pretty decent, 200 laps was it?
Yeah, 200
right.
laps tonight.
Yeah, so 200 laps, open setups. Let's see who's got it right, Mark.
Yeah, look, you can't go past. I'm going to put my foot straight into it. You can't go past Momentum, Sim Sport, mate. They did Daytona and two of their drivers locked out the front row of Daytona with an open setup. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here tonight with them.
When it comes to the next gen cars, I've got to be honest, there is a huge difference in the feel of the vehicle between the iRacing setup, so a fixed setup race, which is what most of the season is, and the open setup. So I ran the open setup on the next gen car at Daytona for the start of the season, for the Daytona 500, the Jewels, all that sort of stuff. It was a different car. Absolutely different car. I was happy with it. I was comfortable in it. I drove really well in the Jewels and all that sort of stuff because the car just felt different on the open setup. I got one that I could play with, that I was comfortable with. But in the with the iRacing setups, it's a different kettle of fish, and there's a lot of restriction on it. So it's going to be interesting to see tonight who actually comes with the goods tonight on the open setup, and who feels more comfortable in the car than they do under normal circumstances. But I've got to be honest, there's only I got to say I'm going to be watching Edward Foster tonight, open or fixed setups. In this series, Edward is one to watch. There's just no two ways about it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ed hasn't had a great season this year so far, but I don't believe he's won a round yet, Matt, has he?
No, he hasn't. It's something that he's not very happy with. He hasn't won a race yet. He's had decent runs, but he just can't quite get
Sounds like you do.
Yeah. So Ed's definitely one to watch. We've got Ruben Phelps. Looks like Stevie Dubs there. So we'll just we'll run through the grid. So on the front row we've got Neil Pearson, DPR. Josh Mickelmore is another one to watch there from Mitch Motorsport. So they're two hard chargers on the front row. So it'll be interesting. Raymond Jago and Jaden Russell. Ruben Phelps out of 5, and Nigel Patton out of 6. Andrew Dyson, geez, a long way back there for him, and Dave Douglas sharing the 4th row. Jason Martin and Brendan Hobson. Now Brendan can have a good night when he's on song. Justin Witcher is another one to watch, and Mr. Foster out of row 6. Stevie Dubb and Aidan Schultz. Aidan is another one that can go well when he puts his mind to it. Tom Pritchard and our first Kiwi, Barry Neal. Barry's a good hard charger, so watch him. Nathan Button, Adam Malone on row 9. Row 10, Matt Patton and Stuart Patterson.
That's right.
Devon Stowe, another Kiwi, and Gary Willman. Row 11, row 12, Kobe Jordan and Michael Skurlock. Michael's also one to watch here. Brad Allison, I know he's been having internet problems, so let's hope that's fixed for him. And Jade Schultz.
I think we've run out of time for the full grid, so we'll jump out of that.
That's it. Yeah, look, on the subject of Brad, I don't know. He had some internet issues for a while. I thought he might have gotten it sorted, but we'll see how that goes. But Brad's one that has openly been struggling with these vehicles. He makes no secret about it. On an open setup tonight, I'd be hoping to see some of the old Brad Allison. He'd be pushing to the front. He'd be battling, stuff like that, as long as he's got the right setup under him with this open setup. That's what it's all going to be about, ladies and gentlemen, is who actually has the setup under them that gives them the chance to show what they've got and strut their stuff in these cars. As they approach the line, they're coming around towards the go zone. The pace cars...
One more lap to go.
Yeah, pace car's still out there, so we've got a lap to go, but the lights are out. So it's another big field, another good-sized field, and there's plenty of talent there, Mark. Like those guys at the front of the grid, like there's some big names there, and as you said, it's surprising to see somebody like Daiso back as far as he is, and Edward Foster coming off 12th off row 6.
Yeah, look, you can't. I would say the winner will come from the top 12 starting. But in saying that too, it is Charlotte. The track temp can get up there and it can get very skatey. So really, you've just got to buy your ticket to that last 20 laps and be on the lead lap, and anyone can
it's all about position, isn't it? You've got to get yourself in a spot where you're there to make a charge in that last 15 to 20, and you've got to keep the car clean on the way to doing it. So, 180 laps, you've got to keep the car as clean as possible, as straight as possible. These things can be very iffy on their downforce. They're either really good at it in some spots and really poor at it in others, depending on how you position yourself on the track, where you are, how close you are to the car in front.
Pace car's off. We're going to go green.
So Neil Pearson on the inside line, and he's got the hammer down. He's gone, and Micklemore has absolutely not kept up with him. I thought Micklemore would absolutely blast away along with Neil Pearson, and that's not the case, Mark.
No, I thought it'd be a pretty even start there, but Raymond almost had him there, Josh, on the start too. And as we go into turn 3 and 4, we're already too wide, so people have been going to make their emotions known straight up.
Strangely enough, even with that blasting away and that great start that Neil Pearson got, he's actually back to 4th already, and Micklemore is leading this. He's made up for that what seemed to be a poor start, from our point of view at least. But yeah, Neil Pearson, our pole sitter, who blasted away and got himself a good lead of 2 or 3 car lengths, is now back in 4th already. Micklemore leads this, and Neil Pearson's trying to figure out what ball he just dropped.
Yeah, it could also be a plan to fall back and work with Dice and his teammates. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. I know team orders, there ain't none. They're the same as most other teams. Race clean, don't touch each other. But as I said Steve, it's a long, long race. So 200 laps.
Very long way to go, mate. Exactly, and yeah, as you said, you've got to look at the possibility that, as you said, despite the start that Neil Pearson got, he's dropped back to fourth now, and he's just holding it very comfortably with a reasonable gap both in front and behind. As we look at Micklemore first, Jaden Russell in second, and Raymond Yeager in third, then Neil Pearson. As the field still bunches up, except for those front half a dozen cars. There's a little bit of a gap starting to work its way in there. We're single file for the first 6 cars. Then there's a reasonable gap back, and the cars are bunched up basically 2 by 2 and bunched up behind that. So that front half a dozen obviously already exerting their authority and stamping their name all over this and putting themselves in a position. Now they just need to get in the groove and just start to be consistent for about the next 180 laps.
Yeah, definitely. What's going to be interesting is if we stay green, the green running pit stop. So there's a lot of options there. You'll take fuel, but the options there, especially here at Charlotte, to take the 2 tyres instead of the 4 to cut down on a little bit of time. But if you're filling the car, you might as well take the 4.
Well, that's it. I mean, to be perfectly honest, there's such a small amount of difference in time between taking 4 and 2. And it's not like you take 2, then you've got that other 2 still sitting there in reserve. It's a tyre stop. That's it. As far as I'm aware, you don't get to take 2 and then add 2 to your bank for later on in the race. If you want to take 2 on each stop, it's a tyre stop. And as far as I know, whether you get 2 or 4, that's your tyres done, you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Ed's got the race set up. It's one thing I will have to talk to him over the next couple of weeks, since we probably be here for a few weeks. And we're under caution.
Yeah, the caution already, and I was actually watching somebody else who may be a little bit of a contender later in this race, and that's the guy on screen at the moment. Number 52, Aidan Schultz. I keep an eye on him tonight as well. As we go to the replay, Matty's got that up there for us. And who have we got there?
Not sure if that's the one that's brought out the caution or not. I'll just have a look at my session events.
Up there we go.
Yep.
Jamie
Damon
Curtis.
Oh, yeah, look. Jamie's gotten loose there. He was actually high up on the track, and he's gotten loose, gone to the infield, and then hasn't been able to hang on to it, gone back on track, and he actually gave, I didn't see which car it was, but he gave somebody a big
looks
serve.
Looks like it's Paul Jackson that's got in. He's got into. Yep,
right. Brad Allison just in front of all that too, I think. As everybody tries to avoid him, number 5's not going to do it.
No, that's number. Who is 5?
Is that
Scott Griffiths, I believe.
Scott Griffiths, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Unlucky
I say that's he's not done. No front end left on that thing. No bonnet.
Yeah, that's not going to be a lot of fun for Jamie from this point on. Even if he goes, there's no fast repairs. So, depending on how much damage he's got on that thing, he may be able to circulate, but I doubt very much we'll see him at a competitive pace. Whereas Scott Griffiths' car is all but destroyed. The front's right off that. And it's very strange. Considering the impact and everything, I'm very surprised that Scott's car is carrying so much more obvious damage than what Jamie's is. Jamie's appears to still be intact, but just dented.
Okay, I just sorry guys, I just stuck down and spoken to Paul quickly. He's got 33 seconds damage, so his crew will work on that and he'll get straight back out. So let's hope he doesn't lose a lap on it.
Is that Jamie?
No, Paul Jackson.
Oh, Paul Jackson. Okay.
Yep.
Scott Griffiths, on the other hand, is stuck in the pits and no front on that car. So, unfortunately for Scott, through his no fault of his own, he's basically what appears to be the first major casualty of this race.
Yeah, definitely. I'll just duck down and see if I can get a comment from Jamie and see how long he's going to be out and how much damage he's got. So I'll leave it with you for a minute, boys.
Sitting behind the pace car now as they come around through the tri-oval. Everybody trying to form up and get their heads back into this after that. The guys towards the front, that front half of the field, won't be so bothered or rattled by it, but something the guys in the back half of the field that were affected by that, whether they missed it completely or got a bit of a scrape or whatever the circumstances may have been, trying to avoid the wreck. They need to get their head back into it. It's very easy, I'll tell you from first-hand experience, very easy to either just barely miss something like that and be rattled for a couple of minutes, or even if you get damage on the car, the old red mist starts to come in and your head's in a different place. You've got to get your head back into this race, especially around here. It's a long way to go. We're on lap 10 of 200, so we've got 190 laps at least to go. That's assuming we don't go to green, white checker. These guys need to get their head into it, or it's only going to affect the rest of their race from this point onwards. The lights are out on the pace car, so we'll be preparing to go, and the pace car's into the pits. Micklemore's gone straight away. He's just absolutely dropped the hammer. No waiting, no strategy. He's just gone, and he's just opened up a big gap there to second and third as Raymond Yeager and I believe it's Jaden Russell, side by side, battling each other. Neil Pearson's still happy to sit in fourth at this point and see what happens ahead of him. And then Dyson's moved up into the spot right behind him in fifth place. And we see that gap maintained there by Josh Micklemore. Jaden Russell's clearly taken second now. And Raymond Yeager, then we're single file to Neil Pearson and Andrew Dyson as the boys start to sort themselves out again. But once you get past about eighth place, I think they're starting to bunch up two or three wide again. Everything behind Dyso's too wide and staggered throughout the field. Dave Douglas on screen there at the moment, sitting just inside the top 10, I believe. So, he looks like he's actually sitting about 9th or 10th, battling with Jason Martin in the number 21 purple machine. And these guys will be pretty comfortable where they are at this point. There's number 53, who's moved up a spot or two. That's Edward Foster. And he'll be pretty happy to still be in there and having a clean run. Sitting a little higher on the track than what I would have expected. But a lot of the guys are trying to stay on that high line at the moment. Track conditions and the open setups, that's obviously the best place to be. Dave Douglas pulling his usual trick. He's dropping down on the apex and then back up to the outside. As they go through the tri-oval, we've got Dave Douglas sitting right in front of, I didn't see who that was actually, but Micklemore leads, then Jaden Russell, Yeager, Dyson, Neil Pearson, then Dyson. So we've still got a fairly clean field.
Yellow again, yellow.
And we're under caution. So what are you reporting?
Have a look.
Yep. What are you reporting back from Jamie on that?
Jamie's got 3 minutes, so he'll make it back out. So
it'd be a couple of laps down, but
yeah.
he could probably make that up. It's still early, and there's going to be a few cautions. He's got a chance to make that up. So we're further back in the field, obviously.
Just trying to find the what it brought out the caution.
We've got Luke Trehere there in the number 43 car. A little bit hard to see what may have actually occurred there.
Yeah.
Possibly somebody just got a bit loose and maybe triggered the caution. Oh, no, there we go.
So
into the wall.
So I believe that might have been Billy Hickey. He might have had an issue there.
Yeah, that's just snapped on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just have a quick look at that and slow it down. Oh, a little bit of contact in the corner.
Right, yeah, he's come up a bit high on the track and given the number 61 a bit of a touch up. But then he's then he's lost it completely and gotten loose, I'd say, as an after effect of that little tap.
Yeah.
And he's
Oh,
possibly overcorrected there.
Brad Allison's involved in that, so
Michael Skurlock, I think there was a big check up behind to try and avoid it, and they ran over each other, unfortunately.
After the touch-up, he may have overcorrected on that, and she's gotten loose on him, and then all of a sudden everybody around him was a victim.
Yeah. We see Brad's in the infield care centre, so we'll give him a tick and we'll pull him up. Bevan Stowe and Bill Hickey used to be teammates, so I'm just wondering if there's no love lost there.
I'll drag Brad up for a quick chat, and we'll see what might have occurred there. Just trying to move him up.
I'll pull him up.
Yeah, pull him up. I can't do it.
Good evening, Mr. Allison. Not a good night so far, mate.
I'm having some really good luck lately. It's been fun.
Yeah, it got a little bit messy there after the initial lose by that car, and he seems to have overcorrected, and then just that was it. I mean, it was a bit of an all-in after that, mate. I mean, you obviously got a fair bit of damage out of that because you seemed to punt the wall along with Skurlock and a couple of others.
Yeah, Steve, I think Skirley saw him get loose as I did and tried to sort of get low. So Skirley, as this car does, it got loose to the right and then jumped, got loose left and jumped right, and he just came up in front of me. I had nowhere to go. But look, I don't knock drivers, but it's the same drivers every week causing the same dramas, like truly.
So how much damage have you got? You got like optional or required repairs?
I'm out.
You're out. You're done now. What a shame.
Well, it is. The helicopter should be here to get me to the hospital for my chest extraction.
And try and pull that steering wheel out of your rib cage.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame, mate. Because pre-race, I actually mentioned that I was interested to see whether we could see some of the old Brad Allison with the open setups and that sort of stuff. And I mean, you were battling with the obvious crew, Skurlock and those guys, but. Yeah, you can't account for that human factor, mate. And unfortunately, there was a spot on the track where somebody just ran out of talent, and everybody else paid the price.
Yeah, Steve. Look, truly, I put in hours of practice. I got to be, quietly confident for a top 10 tonight, which is all I ever really try and aim for. But it's not to be. It's not to be. So I hope you guys
Brad.
have a great call as always. And I'll be
very unfortunate to see you actually go out in that fashion, mate. Because there's a long way to go, and I thought you might have been in with a chance of a top 10 tonight, especially with the open setups. And the cars haven't been friendly to you, but I thought the open setup you might be a bit more comfortable in the ride, but not going to get the chance to find out, unfortunately.
No, I don't like to correct you, Steve, but obviously I didn't have a long way to go because some people were driving like it was the last lap.
Well, yeah, we do get that.
Just a quick one, Brad.
Sure,
do you prefer the open setup, or would you rather we see the fixed?
Me, it's fixed. It's a fixed league. I'd prefer we be running the fixed. That's me. Again, I've spent hours with this. I'm really happy with the setup. The car handles like it's a slot car, but it's too many people struggling to drive a car. That's all.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well,
fixed setups in a fixed league. It sort of makes sense to me,
Yeah.
Famous quote, I believe, by a Formula One driver, and it said everything was going fine until I ran out of talent halfway through the turn, and
that's exactly it, mate.
I think we pretty much see that on a fairly regular basis. But look, yeah, it is what it is, mate. Unfortunately, as the saying goes, and all that. So hopefully we'll see you back next week and have a better run.
I'll be back. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Mark. And thanks, Steve. Good on you, fellas.
Thanks, Brad.
No worries, mate.
So Brad, obviously, understandably not too impressed with the way things have gone over this first 18 laps. Yeah, look, he was obviously playing the long game, sitting where he was. And I'm a bit surprised at that. I thought Brad would have been a bit happier in the open setup because, as I said, he's made no secret of the fact that he doesn't get along with this car and he doesn't understand it properly. So that's a bit surprising. I thought he might have had a setup under him that made him happier, but that's obviously not the case. But we're back to racing now. We're under green again, and Mickelmore continues to lead this, and Neil Pearson's decided now's the time to actually make a move. And he's sitting high on the track, so he's going to lose that spot back to Jaden Russell as they go side by side. But then behind them is Brenton Hobson and Raymond Yeager.
I think these guys are trying to get that high line in for when it gets a bit later in the race, because the high line tends to be the place to run around here. You know, it's just one of those things.
Well, if they get plenty of rubber laid down there for later in the race, I think you're right, and that's going to be the preferred line as this race winds down. But they've got plenty of time to get that done, and then later on the race they'll be able to position themselves there and run their last 20 to 50 laps of whatever their strategy may be.
Yeah.
But there's obviously places on the track they all still like to drop down a bit. That's obvious.
Yeah.
But I think, as we go along through the lap after lap, I think we'll see more and more of that use of the outside line as they lay some rubber down.
Yeah. We've just had another driver released from the care centre, Mr. Bill Hickey, and he joins us in the commentary booth. Good evening, Billy.
Evening, Mark. Evening, Steve. Evening, everyone.
Evening, Billy.
Mate, what happened? Was there a little love tap there, or?
Well, no love lost between former teammates, that's for sure. I was driving side by side with. I was trying to pass Devon Stove, and just we were side by side for half a lap, and we. I was trying to pass him, and we were going side by side, and I thought, oh, come on, we're 14 laps into a 200-lap race here, just chill out and let me carry on. And he seemed to have decided to fight the issue, and we just sort of went for the same piece of real estate. I don't know whether he came down on me or not, but we just were going for the same spot. We bumped uglies and made me get a little bit loose, and then that obviously sent me into the wall, and then something else happened before me as well, so it was just a chain reaction.
Yeah, that's what appeared to happen. Yeah, after the little love tap there, it seemed to get a bit loose.
Once you get loose in these cars, especially around a 1.5, there's no getting it back.
No. You'll notice I don't drive them a lot, Billy.
Yeah. I'm starting to remember why I don't drive them very often.
Well, it's unfortunate. How much damage did you cop out of that?
I blew the engine, mate. That was she was all over. So there wasn't really much point hanging around. So bit of a shame, but life goes on. Not really the debut I wanted for SRM, but still good to give it a good old nudge.
No worries. You want to give a shout out to anybody while you're here?
Oh, just big shout out to the boys at SRM Australia, of course. New team. Don't know the bloody sponsors, do I? But I know there's Mate of Auckland. S. McClay's Mechanical Repairs, I'm fairly sure that's the one. There's a few others there as well, so big thanks to all the guys that support the team, and thanks to Matty Raymond for having me on as well.
Sounds like it's time for a handwritten list stuck to the side of the monitor with some.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say property brokers, isn't it? Would have to be there.
I would say thanks to property brokers, but that'd just be giving myself a shout out, really.
Billy, sorry to see you go out the way you have tonight, but
that's okay. We'll give it a red hot go for the Memorial Day Cup on Saturday night.
Yeah, and we're here on Saturday night too, so
yeah, looking forward to it. I'll make some better moves on Saturday night.
We'll see how you go with the second bite of the cherry. Thanks for joining us, Billy.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
All right, see you.
Bye.
Okay, so we're back under caution. And I believe that might be, is that Stephen Williams? Yes,
it
is. There's only two green cars I can remember, and one's Stephen Williams, the other one's Gary Wellman, so I knew it wasn't Wellman. He's lost that big time. Yeah.
Has he got a touch?
I think he's done it all on his own. He's just got a bit loose, although it looks like he's tapped the wall there at some point. There he goes, he's done it all on his own. The rears just stepped out on him, and from that point on, he's pretty much just a passenger as he slips down between the two cars. So number 61, can we get some new underwear? We get some new underwear for Devon, because I guarantee you he's got some skid marks happening there. Stevie Williams, and he's all locked up, but he's trying to stop it. So yeah,
I'll tell you what, Nobby was lucky there in the other SRM car.
And we were just watching Noddy on screen just before all that took place, actually, as well. So there was a few cars going sideways and guys losing it there, trying to avoid the situation. So Steve Williams, and he's picked a bad time to move that down track. But yep, so there it is. He's done it all on his own. He's just gotten loose, and then he's just a passenger. He can't get it under control. Back up on the track, stopped it from hitting the wall. So fortunately, he's got no real damage on that thing that I can see. He hasn't come together with the wall or anybody else at this point, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and it looks like Paul Jackson trying to avoid that to touch the inside wall. So I'd say he'd be back into the pit lane for some repairs too.
We see Luke Dreher pulling out of the pits, and then I think, was that either Matty Raymond or Noddy Tompkins coming out as well, as the rest of the field have done their pit stops. And it'll be interesting looking to see who's actually jacked up and who's not taking tyres at this point. I wouldn't think there'd be a lot of tyres being changed at the moment because it's not that long since they would have put a fresh set on. That was only, 11 laps ago, I think we came out of our last caution.
Oh, I don't think anyone's been pitting. I think everyone's been saving tyres until now. I think that's the first stop for the front runners.
Okay.
Conserving their tyres, I believe. Yeah.
So you're just going over a few of the guys just behind the main leaders there. We've got guys like Malone and Witches back in 13th, Button 14th. Barry Neal, who has dropped back a little bit through the field. He's back in 17th. Edward Foster's back in 18th position now after starting 12th.
All right, so Paul Jackson ended up with another little bit of damage there. So his crew's working on the car again. So he should be back out on the track. Maybe a lap down this time, but we'll wait and see.
Whoop. Go back to there. All right, just changing a few settings here while I'm watching. Just having a look at a few of the cars running around there, single file behind the pace car. And it's been a little bit eventful, considering we're only on lap 30. And I think this is, our third caution period. So something that really I've come to expect from these cars, actually, because there seems to be no middle ground here. Either you've got your head around the car or you don't with these next-gen cars. With open setups, I thought they would have been a bit more stable, but obviously not. They're still as loose as they are under a fixed setup. So as we look at Edward Foster on screen at the moment, who's managed, I think, by the looks of that car, to keep it out of trouble and straight. He's just sacrificed a few spots as things have gone on, and he's sitting behind the number 52 of Aidan Schultz. And we've had 0 lead changes. I think we've had one. I think Neil Pearson, then it changed to Micklemore, and I think he's held on to it ever since.
Yeah, definitely.
That was fairly early. That was on like the first lap or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because Josh got took over the lead on the first lap. He's the only one to lead a lap so far.
So it hasn't actually registered a lead change because Josh, he passed him before the completion of the first lap. So yeah.
Just a shout out to our regular Abigail. I wouldn't be too worried, Abigail. I think he's just playing cat and mouse. The longer the race, the better he goes. So he'd be sitting back there looking after his gear and trying to stay out of trouble. But I reckon the last 50 laps you'll see him at the pointy end.
He's one of the smarter men in the field, I think, and he knows what's ahead of him. He has won plenty of races in these cars. He's gotten plenty of podiums, and I think he knows exactly how to deal with this, and he's obviously got a strategy. And I think coming towards the end of this, we will see a lot more of Mr. Foster.
Yes, definitely. So the lights are out, so we're going to go green again this time round, boy.
And thing to remember on this one is the top 10 have all stayed out. So Brenton Hobson in 11th place is the first of the cars to have pitted and got tyres. So we'll see a big speed difference between the two of them.
We'll see how we go here with the restart at the moment, and the cars all nicely bunched up there in 2 lines.
Josh has got that jump again. Geez, he's getting some good jumps here tonight.
He's getting some fantastic restarts, but he's taken Dyson with him. Now, considering Dyso started back in, 8th or 9th, and he's actually back up to 2nd now. Dave Douglas is another one who's actually improved his spot on track, currently sitting 4th, and I think is that behind Jaden Russell there with Jason Martin behind him.
Yeah, look, the cream's going to start rising to the top, as they say. So be ready for some of these guys that are buried in the pack to start making their way through. Like as Matt said, Ed's on fresh tyres, so he'll make a run for it this time round. Neil Pearson's back there in the pack. He'll get a good run.
Pearso's back in 15th with Barry Neal behind him, so it's a bit unusual to see them back there, Mark. But and again, as we were saying, it's only lap 32 of 200. Long way to go in this, and these guys know that that's obviously where they want to be or need to be at the moment, and I don't think they'll be panicking by any stretch of the imagination. There's a long way to go, and they know that some of these guys in front of them don't necessarily have the goods that they need to keep them back there. They'll move their way forward. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, definitely. A bit of a battle between Raymond Jaeger and Aidan Phelps back in 15th to 16th.
Well, except for Micklemore, there's a fair old battle going on here for 2nd and 3rd, with 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. All not far off that, and then there's a slight gap back to 7th, or 9th, sorry. But Micklemore holding that first spot, Jaden Russell in 2nd, and he's actually got Raymond Jaeger, and I didn't see who it was next to him. Then all of a sudden you've got Jason Martin. Dave Douglas is in there as well. So, yeah, look, there's a fair bit of fighting going on at the front, but it's all nice and clean and smooth. Jaden Russell puts himself in a position to make a move on Micklemore. Russell on the outside, Micklemore keeping tabs on him there as he runs the middle line, and they drop down for the turn as Russell gets his nose in front, but Micklemore, I think, might take it back as they get on the straight. This is going to be side-by-side action as they come through the tri-oval.
Yeah, it's... this early in the race, it's pretty keen. We're on lap 30, 37, and I guess this is what's going to keep everyone in touch with these lead guys. With the leaders wanting the battle out so early. So if it was me, I'd just be sitting back and enjoying the drive.
Dayton's obviously decided that's not what he wants to do, because he's actually opening up a 2 or 3 car gap over Micklemore now. And Micklemore's got Dave Douglas and the rest of the pack right behind him. They all want a piece of this at the moment, Mark.
Yeah, definitely. But you can see that top 5 that are really battling for that lead. And in saying that, everyone decides to go too wide.
Brenton Hobson staying on the outside with Dyson and Micklemore, but Dave Douglas has decided to hit the apex, and he's taken the inside line, which has actually kept him in front of Hobbo, and he's pulling up alongside Dyson. So Dave Douglas making a move for 3rd place here. That's obviously where he wants to be, as he's just got the nose of his car next to the rear quarter panel on Dyso's car. So he's not letting him get away, but Dyso's putting up a fight, and Brenton Hobson wanting a piece of this again. So as they come through the turn, you've got Dyson and Douglas side by side, and Brenton Hobson outside of them, and we're under caution again on lap 39.
Totally missed that one.
Just see if we can grab a replay.
Off the inside wall. Yeah, so Matt Knight, something's happened here. I think there's a bit of net code in that with, is that Gary Wellman and Jamie Nankervis, I think. And Wellman's moved across and given Matt a bump. So that's gotten him off onto the infield on the apron, and he's actually hit the inside concrete wall. And what's brought out the caution was by the time the car actually lost movement and stopped, the front half of the car was actually on the racing surface. So,
Yeah.
but if you actually watch this, I think you'll see. Oh, actually, it's Reuben Phelps, not Jamie Nankervis. On the outside, Wellman on the midline, and then Matt Knight, not where he wants to be in hindsight, because I'm pretty sure there's a bit of net code in this between Phelps and Wellman. They did get close, but it didn't look like they were going to touch. It looked like they were going to run side by side, but netcode's kicked in, and Gary's obviously trying to catch that afterwards. If you see it just about here, there we go. There's the net code. You can see Wellman's car reacting to it, and they still haven't touched. But that, of course, has forced him down the track, and Matt Knight's got nowhere to go. Gives Wellman a touch-up on the rear quarter, and out of control, and the only thing he can see there is the inside wall. So that's a real shame for Matt Knight. Hopefully that's not serious damage for Matt Knight, because he certainly didn't do anything to cause that himself.
I'll see if I can get a comment off him.
Yep, our pit reporter, Mark Joe. Yeah, so unfortunate for Matt Knight there, and unfortunate for all of them, because although they were close, I mean, we've all raced close like that, but in this instance, the net code has actually made the assumption that Phelps and Wellman were going to come together, and you can see the reaction on Gary Wellman's car where the front corners literally lifted up as though they had actually touched. And then Gary tried to get it under control, but reacted to the touch and moved down, not realising that Matt Knight was right there on his rear corner. So unfortunate for Matt Knight. Doubtful there'd be any real damage on the other cars, but we'll find out shortly. Hopefully Mark will get something from Matt, and I really hope that he can get that back out there shortly and continue on in this. And the trouble with these cars and the damage model, you can do something like that, and all you do is lose a bit of paint and dent the side of the car, and other times it'll actually blow the motor. So there's no real way to know with an impact like that as to what's actually going to occur. So we'll just have to wait and see what sort of damage he's got. And I mean, if it's optional repairs, he probably won't even repair them all before he gets back out on track.
All right, Steve, I can confirm he's got about 4 or 5 minute repairs.
That's required or optional, mate, do you know?
Required.
Oh, really? So what that's going to indicate then is he's going to have some sort of an engine problem, which is going to cost him on top-end speed.
Yeah.
Which is going to affect his competitiveness for the rest of the race. So I can see him dropping laps. If he only needs to be 10 or 12 miles an hour or kilometres an hour down on the rest of the field, and if they're all travelling in the draft, then that's really going to make it a struggle for poor old Matt.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading the comments on the social medias. I can tell Mr. Allison he's not a brick. He just having a run of bad luck, and yeah, he's
Yeah, I think Brad's pretty aware of that. I mean, you know, with perhaps with one real exception, tonight's been more about really bad luck than anything else.
Yeah.
With a couple of these caution periods. I mean, that one there, for instance, was it purely looked like netcode. I mean, if they touched, I don't think it was going to actually cause an issue, but they didn't get the chance to find out.
Yeah.
And then Gary obviously trying to correct when he felt the bump, and we saw the car move. So Matt Knight's just the innocent bystander and collateral damage and all that, and he's going to pay the price for that for the rest of the night. Yeah. In fact, to be honest, it's very, very lonely sitting in the pits for 5 minutes at a track like Charlotte, watching the rest of the field go by 5 or 6 times while it's still repairing the car. And believe me, what goes through your mind is, do I even bother? I'd like to see Matt get out there and give it a go, but I know he's going to suffer. So the pace car's now in, and Dave Douglas leads us away, and he gets a pretty decent start, and he's got about 2 or 3 car gap over, Jaden Russell, I think, in second, and Brenton Hobson, actually, and
Adam Malone.
Adam Malone in third place. That's good to see. Adam's putting in a real effort here tonight as he's side by side with Neil Pearson in 4th place.
Yeah, Adam's really come on. He's only been on the scene a few, I think, just over 12 months. I think he did half the season with us last year, the Weekend Warriors, and he stepped up to ANZCAR this year, which is good to see.
I've had some good runs with Adam, to be honest. I don't recall ever having an issue between the two of us. Maybe getting caught up in somebody else's issues, but he's a fairly clean guy. He knows what he's about. And like most guys, he has his up nights and bad nights. We've got a slow car. Oh, that's Matt Knight trying to rejoin the field, coming out of the pits. So he's obviously repaired what he could, and with optional repairs, probably the only thing he had left. He decided to get out there and try and fix it later. As Dave Douglas maintains about a 3 or 4 car gap over Neil Pearson. He's got a couple of cars gap back to Hobbo in the 88 car. As we see Raymond Yeager up to 4th position now, and Adam Malone in 5th, and he's actually basically got a slew of cars behind him wanting his position.
Matt Patton there, caution again.
On caution under lap 46, unfortunately. So
I think that might be Matt again.
Somebody's had a bit of a grievance there. No, we've got a yellow car. Oh, that's nasty.
That's Devon. Devon's gone around.
Yeah, Devon's gotten loose, and now we've. Oh, goodness me, here we go. So the 587 into the wall after a tap. Devon's gotten loose there and probably triggered that because other people have tried to go around him or avoid him.
That's Matt Patton, 587.
587, that's Matt. And that was a pretty decent hit in the rear quarter. Somebody obviously trying to avoid Devon. And Matt's paid the price for it, unfortunately. Strangely enough, I see Andrew Dyson back there as well. He's right in front of all this.
Trying to see who that purple car is.
Purple and black, but I know it's not Luke Trahir. I'm trying to see who it is. It's number
197.
197.
Oh, so is that Scott Patterson?
Stuart Patterson.
Stuart Patterson, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's given Matt the big heave ho, as he I think tried to avoid Devon, who just simply got loose and wasn't able to bring it back under control. So that's a bit of a shame. It brings out another caution on lap 46 when that occurred. So Matt in the pits. Got a fair bit of rear end damage on that, as you would expect. Plus, I think he gave the wall a bit of a side swipe. I'm not sure. So we'll be interested to see how he goes with damage repair on that. And Mark's obviously gone to have a word with Matt Payton because he just stepped out of the box. So just looking at the state of the field at the moment, we've got fairly mixed bunch here at the moment. I mean, the guys who have been directing this race since the start now sitting back a bit further. We've got Pearson in first again. We've got Hobson in second, Jager third, Adam Malone still sitting there in fourth. I think it's Nigel Patton in the 90 car in fifth place, Aidan Schultz, Luke Trahir up to 7th, Jai Schultz 8th, Witcher in 9th, Ed Foster up to 10th place. So he's 2 spots up from where he started. And obviously through circumstance, he's managed to get himself up into the top 10 again. Reuben Phelps in 11th, Pritchard 12th. Gary Wellman after that whoopsie a little while ago in 13th. Stephen Williams after his incident earlier in 14th. and Noddy Tompkins rounds out the top 15 at the moment. Mark, what can you tell us?
I just went down and had a quick word with Aiden and everything, and the boys at Southern Stars, and they're all good to go. So we'll Aiden said he'll come up and join us in the commentary booth next caution for a little chat. So we get his aspects on the race that he's having so far.
Great, no worries. I've seen him. Well, I haven't seen him. I think he's just been avoiding all this and just running his race. He's been, a bit of the quiet achiever tonight, up inside the top 10, I think, wasn't he? So
I believe he's in 6th at the moment.
He's in about 6th or 7th, somewhere around there. I just announced it a moment ago. So, and senior's moment, I've forgotten already. It's one of those why did I walk into the kitchen moments, but that's okay. So we got Neil Pearson back up the front again, which is where he started. He came off pole and on the first lap lost the lead to Josh Micklemore, who basically led the bulk of this race, but now finds himself back mid-pack, and Neil Pearson back on the pole, I suppose you'd call it, as he's going to actually lead us away when the pace car pulls off, Mark.
Yeah, look, these guys will be back and forth. Like we're only on lap 50, another 150 to go. So we'll might be a race of who can survive.
I think that's going to be the key here. We're only a quarter of the way through the distance. As you said, lap 50 of 200, so we've got a very long way to go. But there's been so much happen already. It would be good to see a long green period here.
Yeah, look, I think the issue we're having is that the guys have set their cars up. And look, I know momentum. I stuck down there and had a quick word to Ruben and everything, and they've said that the cars just can't get into a rhythm. So the way they've got them set, they just can't get settled in the car, and the car can't get settled. They need a long green flag to really work out how the car's handling and make some adjustments on the pit stops.
As has come up before and it's been discussed. As we go green again with Neil Pearson getting a start, and we'll go back to that in just a moment, as we see the field run by Neil Pearson down that low line, trying to just hang on to that. And he tried to put a couple of spaces on Matt Hobson there, but it just hasn't worked, and Hobbo's stuck with him through the turn as they actually open up a bit of a gap to the guys behind them, which is Jaeger and Malone going at it side by side, as we see the rest of the guys there 2 by 2 battling it out.
Bit of a wiggle there by Raymond. Now, if I was Hobbo, I'd be just sitting in behind Neil and trying to build a little bit of a gap on these guys and try and break that pack race.
He's got to miss out on a spot here because Raymond Jaeger is actually going to move up and take second spot away from him. It looks as though he's going to do it. He's just got himself in front, but Hobbo seems to have him on the straights, and Raymond Jaeger seems to get his nose in front on the turns as they come through the tri-oval, and they're basically side by side, Jaeger and Hobson going at it, hammer and tong there at the moment, as Nigel Payton sits in behind them and just watches what's going on here. And we've pretty much got them 2 by 2 beyond that point. But yeah, look, as I was saying before, the trouble with these cars is every time you get a caution period, the brakes cool down, the tyres cool down. These cars are very sensitive to brake and tyre temperatures. So each time they go back to green, everything's cold again. And by the time caution. By the time they get temperature up, we get this happen. So the guys just don't have a chance. So that's pretty much what Ruben was probably trying to get across, was they just don't seem to be able to get a green period long enough to get these cars in a situation where everything's up to temp and running right, and they can just have a good long green run. As we look at, there's car 5 in a mix of it again. He was in something earlier.
Jamie's lost the rear end.
Right, okay, and yes.
Everyone's taking avoiding action.
Everybody trying to avoid him, and then they've come together again. That's interesting.
Let's see.
Yeah, so Jamie Nankervis has gotten loose and I think has clouded the wall.
All right. Just interrupt here. We got the pilot of number 52, Aidan Schultz. How you going, Aidan? Got a copy?
Yeah, got a copy. Good evening.
Evening, mate. Bit of a stop-go situation tonight.
Yeah, been a little bit stop-start, but open setup. I don't know. I don't know what the catalyst is to it, but a bit stop-start. But I'm sure it'll settle down shortly.
Yeah.
Looks like the guys are trying to get something happening as soon as we go green again. And of course, with these things, you've got cold brakes and cold tyres, and it's just not working.
Yeah, look, it could. Look, this is my first time back after 4 weeks, after being a bit of a naughty boy. So I don't know what it's like. Going back, they're usually a lot shorter races. This is a long race tonight, so probably people trying to transition into that. I don't know, but we're P5 at the moment. We'll see how we go. We come off a solid result last night, so I don't know. We'll see. Got the Pinnacle guys around us. We've got some teammates around us as well, but hey, we've only just gone quarter way, so a long way to go.
Well, that's it, mate. It's a very long way to go. Still 145 laps, and you've got Adam Malone's a teammate of yours, I believe, and he's right in behind you. And you've got obviously Nigel Payton and Raymond Yeager ahead of you, as you said, with the Pinnacle team. Look, you're having a good run, mate. Keeping it clean and just running your race appears to be working for you. Are you running a particular strategy tonight, or is it just about, let's just not hit anybody else?
No, I'm not going to give up my strategy, but not about not hitting anyone else. I've always got the pace and be there, and I don't care about that. It's racing, we race, but it is what it is. But no, just just trying to get through this section of the race, because this is a really important section. You want to keep your car clean. And then we're going to get into some solid green flag racing. You're going to see the cream of the crop rise up there with how they can manage their tyres, fuel strat and everything. So race is only just starting. We can get all excited in 5th place at the moment under caution, but there's a lot to play out yet.
Yeah, it's easy to. Well, you should be satisfied and happy with where you're sitting at the moment. But yes, it's understandable that you do it with a certain degree of modesty and humility, since it's so early in the race. It's great to be 5th and behind the pace car, but yes, very long way to go, and you're well aware of the fact that just about anything could happen. So
yeah, mate, exactly. A lot of cats to be thrown amongst the pigeons, as they say, as the race goes on. As I said, we're only quarter of the way through. A couple more cautions, maybe we might go green to the end. That's the pleasure of NASCAR racing, and that's why we're so attracted to it. We've got to adapt on the run, and we'll see how we go. But at the moment, we're in 5th place. Adam Malone's in 6th. Couple of teammates behind me. Got Jai there as well. Not a teammate per se, but there as well. But we're in the right position early, but hey, we just got to be there at the end. We'll see how we go.
well, the fact is you're in a position to make something of it at the moment, and you're at the pointy end. Where most of these guys don't necessarily go through the trials and tribulations that we've seen further back in the pack tonight. So that's a big plus in the right column for you, I'd say.
Yeah, early on, but like I said, long way to go. Just about keeping it clean now, keep circulating, see what happens, and NASCAR writes its own books, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can be on the right chapter at the end.
No worries then, mate. Look, I'm looking forward to a lot of green racing once we get beyond about that halfway mark. So hopefully that'll be the case, and you guys will be able to just head down and white knuckle it and just keep on going, and see how we go as far as green flag pit stops are concerned as well. So look, good luck for the rest of the night, mate, and hopefully you get to keep it clean and get a good position.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, guys. Have a good call.
Yeah, thanks, Aidan, for your time, mate. I'll drop you back down.
No worries.
So Aidan Schultz there from Southern Stars Racing, and giving us his insights to the race and the way he's very pragmatically looking at how things are going. As he says, he's no fool, Aidan, and he knows this is early, and he knows there's a very long way to go. As I said, I'm hoping once we get beyond about lap 100, we'll see some very long green periods, and these guys would be very hungry for that as well, because it's very frustrating to be out there, Mark, isn't it? When every 2 or 3 laps you're back under caution again.
Yeah, definitely. Look, as we've said time and time again, these cars tonight, a lot of these guys would have these set up for long stint runs, and the cars just can't get into that rhythm, and they can't get stuff up to temperature and let the car settle. So, as you said, fingers crossed.
As well, mate. The driver's rhythm as well.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we can get into a rhythm now, and just settle down. We need to see these guys sit back, get into some single lane racing. Forget about the passing. Let's just get to that second half of the race and go for it there.
Well, I think the real problem we've got is that the back half of the field want to get towards the front. They know it's a long way to go, but they treat it like we're on lap 152 instead of instead of lap 52 sort of thing. So, and I think we need to see a little bit more patience out there. If you know and are well aware that the car is going to take a lap or two to get up to temperature and get your grip up and that sort of stuff before you start pushing it through the turns, give it the time it takes. I mean, we've got a long way to go. Nobody's going to win this thing in the next 5 laps.
No, but you can definitely lose it.
You can definitely lose it, though. Exactly right. But yes, obviously we're under green again. It's Neil Pearson leads the field, and he's got 2 or 3 car lengths back to Raymond Jaeger, who's got himself up into second, and then he's got a couple of car lengths back to, I believe, Jaden Russell, of course. Aiden is actually doing, I think Aiden's got himself up to 3rd spot there at the moment. Yep, side by side with Jaden Russell, and battling for that 3rd spot with Nigel Patton behind him. And Aiden's having a pretty good run as Nigel decides he wants that spot back. Went low. Aiden actually shut the door on that and said, not a chance, buddy. As they come back through the tri-oval, Aiden's holding him at about a half a car length at the moment, but Nigel's going to make a move down the inside here, but Aiden's with him all the way, shuts the door on that again. Those front 3 are starting to spread out a little bit, but Aiden's successfully managed to hang on to that, and he's put a few car lengths on Nigel Patton, who's moved back to the outside. As you see, that front 4's spread out a little bit. Raymond Jaeger's only about 1.5 to 2 car lengths behind Neil Pearson at the moment, and he's got his eyes on that. But yeah, as much as these guys are all trying for position, they are aware there's a long way to go. So the front pack is not going to do anything particularly silly. I think it's where we start to get them 2 and 3 wide, further back at about mid-pack onwards. I think it's where we start to see guys taking chances, and I think it's still way too early to be doing that.
Yeah, it definitely is, Steve. You just got to settle in. These races, these longer races, are like running Bathurst week in, week out. So you don't see guys trying to win Bathurst on the first lap. Although there has been 1 or 2 guys that try and done it.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out real well either.
No.
So Jaden Russell finds himself actually pushed back in the pack here a little bit, with what do we got? Hobbo sitting in 3rd place, I believe. Raymond Jaeger in 2nd. Neil Pearson's 1st. 4th place is side by side. We've got Nigel Payton's just taken it off Aiden, so Aiden Schultz back to the 5th again. And then he's got Jaden Russell behind him, and Andrew Dyson's come back through the field again after being further back through a couple of those cautions. A little bit of a blink out and in again from Jaden Russell, so hopefully that's not a sign of things to come either.
Jaden Russell's the first of the fresher lap tyres as well. He's got about 13-14 lap fresher tyres than these guys all up in front. So Jaden's leading that pack from Andrew.
Okay, so we've got Jaden on much fresher tyres than what the guys in front of him are, and that's going to be interesting to see how we go here, because Jaden obviously is going to have pace over these couple of guys in front, so it's going to be a matter of when rather than if he decides now's the time to actually take a couple of spots. But this is what we were talking about with the guys who do run at the front and guys that do get on the podium, and a bit of patience. I mean, Jaden's obviously going to be able to pass these 2 in front almost at will if his tyres are that much fresher, as we see Raymond Yeager running very wide to the inside. Not quite sure what's happened there, but he's lost some momentum and his spot as Hobbo's passed him, Nigel Payton and Aidan Schultz, and now Jaden Russell will drop down the inside as long as he thinks it's clear. Dyson will probably follow them through.
Yeah, Dyso's going to start wanting to come to the front now, and to try and lead with Neil, and working with a team as a team. So be ready for that Dyso to make some big moves here.
Mind you, we're still only on lap 68 of 200, so it's still a long way from set. And a long way from those last 20 laps or so where the guys really do need to be battling at the front.
Tell you something that's looking pretty interesting. According to my data, Adam Malone hasn't pitted yet. He's the only one who hasn't pitted. So he's on 69 lap tyres. So if that's the case, he's obviously saving all his sets of tyres for the second half of the race. So he might be one to have a strong finish.
Oh, so he's taken fuel, just not tyres, is that what you're saying?
No, well, according to the information I'm looking at, he hasn't been to the pit road at all.
Wow.
So everybody else has been at least once.
So he's doing exceptionally well on his fuel then too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might
Wow,
just been enough
that's,
cautions, but
that's a bit of a danger sign for the guys around him then.
yeah, we'll just keep an eye on him. I mean, my data may be incorrect, but you know, if it is correct, then he's got a full set of tyres, you know, still sitting in there, and he'll be able to change tyres a lot more regularly in the second half of the race than what anybody else will be able to.
Oh, well, that's it. I mean, having those tyres up your sleeve, especially at this point of the race, is that's incredibly advantageous. I mean, that really is a secret weapon, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah,
yeah. It's pretty
yeah.
good job making them last as long as they have.
Well, he hasn't really pushed it that hard either. He's sort of been there, but not really challenging. Just keeping himself in a spot. He's obviously in a bit of a groove there at the moment. He's keeping it clean. He's keeping it smooth. He's where he needs to be to run this way. And as long as he continues a nice, clean, smooth run, he's obviously made those tyres last an incredible amount of time. So it's just a matter of not getting mixed up in anything. He's got Edward Foster, I think that is, behind him.
Yeah.
So, and Edward will be running the same sort of thing. I mean, he knows there's a long way to go. If he wants to win this, he doesn't really need to make a move. Just keep himself positioned well for probably another 100 laps or so.
Yeah, look, if you can stay in that top 10 for the next, as you said, 100 laps, but, geez, 73 laps on a set of tyres, it's,
It's pretty incredible stuff around here because Charlotte's not known for being kind to tyres either.
Mm.
I mean, there are worse tracks that are harder on your rubber, but as Edward takes the position away from Adam, I think Adam's just got a lap time and he's just running to it. I think it might be part of what it is.
Yeah, but 74 laps. That's
pretty incredible, isn't it?
We'll just do some.
It'd actually be interesting to maybe even have a chat with him next caution, just to see what he's going. I mean, you know, without trying to get any secrets out of him, just to see what it is that he's actually doing out there that may actually give us the data that Matt's seeing at the moment.
Well, I've just done a quick. At the moment, he's under 0.3 of a gallon a lap. So I mean to say that's pretty good.
Well, I mean, in these things they've got a 5-speed box as well. So I mean, at times where other guys might be running 4th gear or something like that in certain parts of the track, or in circumstances where there's only 1 or 2 cars and they'll drop it to 4th, and these things will easily do high revs in 4th gear and give you that push. He may be keeping it in 5th, which basically keeps down his fuel usage.
Yeah, but you can see on the dash there he's sticking in 5th, and he's only just getting into the red on his RPM. So
it's basically just peaking at red line and then it's dropping again. So
yeah.
I've got a feeling it might be what he's doing is hammer fifth gear, and it's been kind to him on fuel over the length of the race. I can't explain it otherwise.
But that's still a great fuel.
But well, it's a lot of laps on one set of tyres too. That's but then again, if he's on the right line and he's not pushing it through the turns and he's not scrubbing the tyres, then that will certainly. I mean, every time you can do a lap without scrubbing the tyres heavily, going through the turns, that's an extra lap or two that you're going to get out of the rubber.
Oh, definitely.
There's also been 22 laps of caution as well. So if you've been clutching it and saving it under caution.
Well, that'll certainly help. Yeah, we have had quite a few laps of caution, and that's certainly a factor in the equation. Yeah, and that's probably played into his hands. I mean, even now you don't see him going after Edward. He just seems to be just maintaining that pace. He knows there's a very long way to go, and other guys, we've got Dave Douglas coming up on him at the moment, and I'm just watching the line that Adam's taking. It doesn't appear to be a particularly defensive line. He's not making any sharp, snappy moves. He's just appears to be driving to a number, if you ask me. That's just what it looks like from outside the car. You know?
He's in the pits. He's coming in pits.
Okay. Well, if this is going to be his first set of tyres, then if he can do that again and repeat that, he's going to be hitting a lap 160 before he's going to have to pit again.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's, wow. I mean, that puts him with 40 laps to go to finish the race off, which is only half the distance he's just done.
So these cars carry 20 gallons of fuel, divided by, what are we, on lap 80?
We are on lap 80, and he has just taken 4 tyres. Because I've saw both sides of the car come up.
That's 0.25 gallons of fuel a lap, which is
quarter of a gallon. So yeah. That's a pretty low number.
He'll need to fight hard to get back onto the lead lap now, though, because he is one lap down.
He will now. He's gone a lap down because of the green flag pit stop. And unfortunately for him, there wasn't a caution that fitted in with when he needed to stop. And he obviously felt he needed to stop. He was probably out of fuel. But at the same time,
that's under a litre of fuel a lap. That's 0.94 litres of a lap.
Yeah.
0.94 litres.
Well, the fact is he's a lap down now, as Matty pointed out. But the fact is, if he runs the same strategy and the same way that he has for the first 80 laps, he'll get that back, because in the next 80 laps, there's undoubtedly going to be at least 1, possibly 2 caution periods. I don't see us going through another 80 laps. In fact, in the first 80 laps, we've had, 4 or 5 cautions. So I know we're approaching the second half of the race and things tend to settle down a bit. But my guess would be that in the next 80 laps, he'll get the opportunity to get that lap back.
Yeah, well, he's now past Matt Patton, so he's now the lucky dog. So realistically, he wants a caution come out now.
And of course, anybody that pits now from this point onwards after him is going to go a lap down if they do it under green. So that's going to advantage him as far as the lucky dog if it's necessary for him to get it back that way. Incredible run, fantastic run if that's the case, because that's just thrown most pit strategy out the window from what I can see.
I'll certainly be interested in following that. I do like it. Good throwing a good different strategy in there and seeing how it plays out.
Yeah, well, that's it. As I said, I'm guessing he's got a number and he's driving to it. And at the moment, with brand new rubber on the car, that gives him a little bit extra to get past guys a little easier without really having to push the car hard.
Yeah. So he runs the Super E series in the V8. So he'd be used to running to a number on the oval. So that's
And of course, he'll know what that number is, and you can guarantee there would have been plenty of discussion between himself, Aidan Schultz, Andy Barber, all of the guys who run with Southern Stars. There would have been plenty of discussion there about how to run this, and he's so far he's just hit the nail on the head.
Just a comment from the socials. Brad doesn't think he'll have the horsepower with the diff ratio he's running. So it'd be interesting to see what diff ratio he is running.
That's a factor as well. I forgot that this is open set. So if he's running a taller diff ratio, that will help with his keeping his revs down, which will also help with his fuel burn. So yeah, it would be interesting to know whether he's actually running a taller diff in it, so that the engine's not revving as hard. But at the same time, we did take a look, and he was running fifth, and he was barely peaking at the red line. So that's obviously it's obviously working for him, whatever it is he's doing. Yeah.
I don't know, Matt. Can we jump on board with Neil Pearson and see if we can see his dash?
Yeah, I'll just grab that for us now.
And Neil obviously leading this and reasonably comfortably, as it looks like he's coming up on a lap vehicle now. I can't tell who it is yet, but
Jamie
looks like
Nankervis.
Jamie Nankervis. It looks like the Custom Paints and Die Casts livery.
So he's staying in fifth, but he's down the back straight. He gets into the red a lot earlier, and he holds it in the red a lot longer too.
Yeah, I'm just going to watch that now. Actually, there's 8, 9.
No,
there's
he's
9.
just touched it.
No, he's just touched it. Yeah, he's. I think part of that could actually also be draft. These things do rev a bit higher when you're in the draft, and he was approaching the back of that lap car, so that would have actually caused it to. And then all of a sudden the revs have dropped a little bit when he's cleared the car, so he wouldn't have had any nose front on draft there.
Yeah, we'll see this lap because he's by himself.
Out on his own, so yeah.
So he's hot. Yeah, so he's in the red a lot longer.
Yeah, he's revving a little harder than what Adam appeared to be when we were watching him before. And just a bit of a reminder, you are watching the ANZCAR Cup, brought to you by 24/7 Sim Services. And we've got Neil Pearson leading this one again at the moment. He has done a couple of times tonight, but he's back out front at the moment. It appears to be on his own with a reasonable lead over Andrew Dyson in second, and Nigel Nigel Patton in third. Sorry, yes.
You know what would be interesting, Matt, if we get the right front camera shot when they come around, just see how close these guys are getting to the wall.
Well, that's Gerlach that they're all passing at the moment. So obviously that's because he's suffering from issues not of his own making earlier in the race, where he's suffered and gone down some laps. So Skurlock not in a position he's normally accustomed to being in, where he's actually the lap car being passed by the leaders. Dyso's not getting particularly close there, Mark.
No, I thought he'd be up there and trying to get a bit of a side draft off the wall, but he's not getting up there. Maybe down here he might.
Well, I don't think he's close. I don't think second place Dyson is close enough to him where he needs to really push it. I think you'll find he'll be getting a lot closer to that wall coming into the tri-oval if Dyso's all over the back of him.
Yeah.
At the moment, he's got the luxury of a bit of a buffer, so therefore he doesn't need to drive the car like it's a qualifying lap. You can see there's a big gap there. If he's having to actually battle and defend his position from whoever's behind him, whether it be Dyso or somebody else, I think you may very well see him get a lot closer to that wall because he'd be running more like a qualifying lap where you really get right out there wide and run it straight through the tri-oval. So he's not having to do that at the moment, which is also going to help his tyres and fuel.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if Dyso does get up onto the back of him, They won't try and battle. They'll just sit there, unless they get a third or a fourth car. They'll just sit there
no advantage to them actually battling for position at this stage of the race when the front three are a fair way out in front of the rest of the field. So battling, side by side, nose to tail, I want your position now. It's not really going to be that sort of a situation as we're on lap 97. So we're not even halfway through officially. And that sort of, I think, as you said, they'll probably run together if Daiso catches him, and Nigel Payton as well. Dave Douglas there on screen at the moment. And these guys at the front appear to have settled into a pattern here at the moment, a bit of a groove. Dave sitting fourth, obviously. And he seems to be quite comfortable there at the moment. It's that point in the race where they're taking advantage of a decent long green run and just getting the I jinxed it. Jinxed it already. And as we go under caution on lap 98. Oh, goodness me.
Let's have a look. Let's see what we can find.
That's Stephen Williams again.
Yeah.
He had a big lose earlier on, very early in the race actually. So not quite sure what's happened to him there.
It's incorrectly reporting him as crashing, but he was actually just going to the pits.
Unless he's given the wall a touch. Like poor old Matt there. Matt Payton's just given the wall a brush. He's got some fairly substantial damage to the back of that thing. And there's Stuart Patterson, he got a little bit wobbly there, and he's into the wall.
That's
probably what brought it out. Yeah, he's lost that now. Oh, he's doing some drifting practice.
I say that's what it was, though. That's.
I think that was Matt Knight that snuck around the outside of him. So poor old Matt would have probably been having flashbacks from what happened earlier. But yeah, Stuart Patterson into the wall, got loose, and then decided to demonstrate his drifting skills all the way down through the turn.
Yeah, just when we go back green, Matt, we might jump on board with Ruben and see what his revs and everything are doing.
No worries.
Where is Ruben? Ruben's sitting in 14th at the moment, so
I think Stuart was actually going to pull straight into the pits there and realised that the caution had already come out, so therefore the pit entry was closed. He's gone back out on track, but he's in the pits now. And as we see Reuben Phelps and Luke Trahere exiting the pits under caution. So this, of course, is going to bunch everybody up. So that comfortable groove and gap that the top 5 or 6 guys had has now gone, and they're going to be all over each other again. So it's going to be interesting to see who actually decides to battle at this point as we hit lap 100. So we are now officially halfway through the race, half distance, in the 24/7 Sim Services ANZCAR Cup.
And this will give Adam Malone his lap back too.
And Adam should by rights get his lap back here, yes. He'll be due to get the lucky dog. As we see Jamie Nankervis stuck at the front there. The lights are still on the pace car, so haven't seen Adam get his orders to go around yet.
No, he won't get that until one to go, mate.
Yeah. So the field not really bunched up at this point because lights are still on the pace car, so we're not quite down to one lap to go. We should get that this time around, and then you should actually see the field start to bunch up. They'll all probably be told to stay single file at this point. But once the lights go out in that pace car, they'll get told to go either inside or outside. and we'll see them start to bunch up since they're supposed to be, I believe, they're meant to actually be within 2 car lengths of each other, nose to tail. Although they're not sitting that way on track, we are having Neil Pearson still registering as in first place. Dyson in second and Payton in third. That's Nigel Payton in the 90 car, although they're not sitting at the front. And the guys get the wave by. So that will get Adam Malone round to the back of the field and back onto the lead lap, as we now see Pearson, Dyson, Payton, Hobson. That's your front four. Dave Douglas.
And look on the.
Foster.
I was just going to say, look on the outside of the row 3, that blue 53.
Sixth position, and row 3 for the restart, Edward Foster. And we've got Micklemore and Martin side by side there as well. Aidan Schultz there on the 5th row. And we'll see what sort of start Pearson can get, because although battling under green is not something I would have expected to see between them, if Dyson can get a better restart and take that lead, I believe he will do it. He won't just be satisfied with running with Neil Pearson. He'll probably want to take the spot if he can get a better start. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Micklemore's back about 5 rows. So it's not like he's been getting some fantastic restarts tonight. And the pace car is off as we look at it over the dash of Nigel Payton's car sitting in third on the 2nd row, and Pearson goes for it. Dyson's going to go with him though. He just had that little microsecond break between the two of them. Oh, and Pearson's flashed out and in again. So hopefully that's not going to continue, as Payton seems to have actually gotten the jump on, I think it was Brenton Hobson that was sitting next to him. So he now settles into third where he was. And Pearson, Dyson and Nigel Payton, I think Hobson sitting behind in 4th, as they go side by side with Nigel Payton from the cockpit. You can actually see it side by side with Andrew Dyson, as he wants the 2nd spot. He's going to go for it. He's going to try and take it away from Dyson, and that's going to, I think that's what he's just done. He's got his nose in front, and that's done Pearson a big favour of his. He's opened up another couple of car lengths in the gap that he's got over these guys. Great footage there, great camera work, and that's all on Matt Hunter, who's sitting there pushing the buttons tonight, as we get a good look around the cabin on Nigel Payton's car, and you saw him take that position away from inside the cabin on the in-car camera, and he's closed up that gap to Neil Pearson by a couple of car lengths, so he's about 3 behind him at the moment. That view's a little bit deceptive, believe me. You look a lot from the cockpit. You look like you're closer to the car in front than you really are, but there's probably at least 3 car lengths there, and that's what it looked like from the outside. And he's opened up the same gap back to Dyson, who's sitting behind him in 3rd, and Brenton Hobson in 4th in the 88 car.
Micklemore's just got past Aidan Schultz for 8th position.
Got to move for the lead.
Oh, and Payton's taken the lead, so he's obviously got the legs over Neil Pearson. So good move there from Nigel Payton. Lap 106 of 200 in the 24/7 Sim Services ANZCAR Cup, and he's actually opening a gap now. So I'm just wondering whether Pearson has actually taken tyres recently.
I think he might be saving a little bit there. I think.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that Nigel's got much better rubber on the car than what Neil Pearson has, because he seemed to do that with a great deal of ease.
It's still too far out from the end to be making a big move. He'll definitely come back to the field, because Yeah, only 107 and a 200.
He's early. It's very early for that, but what he could be doing is simply trying to put himself in that position and then settle into a groove. As Dave Douglas takes third, away from Dyson, pushing him back to fourth. So Dave Douglas is on a little bit of a charge now at the moment as well, as he's just keeping that 1.5 to 2 car lengths gap to Dyson, and he's got Pearson in front of him, who's just really had nothing to offer Nigel Payton and lost that position. And Payton's opened up a big gap at the front there now, a big gap by the look of that.
I'm wondering
But
if
then
there's I wonder if there's an element of fuel saving going on in here. I don't know if we can maybe make it home for the race distance here on one pit stop, and maybe that's what.
I think they'll fall a bit short, but at the same time, there could be these guys are aiming to get to about lap 175, 180, do a fuel stop, and then run to the end. I don't know.
Yeah, because he's jumped out quite a bit.
Well, it all comes down to whether they can actually match what Adam Malone managed to do earlier, getting 80 laps out of a set of tyres, etc. I mean, if they can actually manage to get the same, anywhere near the same out of it, then seeing a necessity as being the next stop they need to make, barring caution periods, that's what 70 laps away.
Yeah. Oh, interesting to see what's going on there.
It's certainly an interesting thought. I mean, if they think that they're capable of getting anywhere near the distance between stops that a couple of the other guys have gotten, then obviously that could be what they're thinking. But pushing to take a position now on lap 114, with 86, 86 laps to go, that's a long way from where they need to be position-wise at the end.
Yeah, it's a long way to get on fuel. Again, it just depends on, as Brad's been saying in the social media, depending on gear ratio. So you just don't know what gear ratio guys are running.
Keeping in mind that it's open setups, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously teams are going to be running the same sort of setup. I mean, so their ratios and their suspension setups and their tweaks, you could probably pretty much be certain that as a team, they'll be running the same sort of thing as each other.
Yeah, be close.
But team versus team will probably be a completely different matter.
Yeah, it'll be very similar setup, and just fine-tuned to individual drivers. Some guys will like it a little bit loose, and other guys like it tight. So yeah,
some guys may have it tuned so that after 3-4 laps, once you get some heat into the tyres and the brakes and stuff like that, the car is more stable. The car's a little bit quicker. Yet, while everything's cold, it may not necessarily be a good race car. Other guys may have it set so that it's just fast. Other guys may have set so it's stable, but you sacrifice a little bit of top end for when you need it, stuff like that. So yeah, with open sets, it's very difficult to try and second guess what people are doing, because with fixed setups, well, we can say, well, okay, you change the steering ratio, you can change the brake bias, you can change the steering offset, but you're pretty much done with it. So everybody's running the same. But with the open sets, it's very difficult to know what people are running versus what their length of race strategy might be.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it comes down, as you're saying, setups. I run a bit of dirt stuff, and I put reverse splits into the cars. Now, anyone that runs in America will know all about reverse splits, but there's not a lot of guys in Australia that run reverse splits in the sprint car.
Well, that's it too. So as we're watching Nigel Payton, he's got Neil Pearson behind him and then Dave Douglas. So that's still 1, 2, 3. Andrew Dyson in fourth. And they're all spread out by about 2 car lengths, 1.5 to 2 car lengths between on that front 4. Then there's a huge gap back to 5th place, which is Aidan Schultz. He's maintaining 5th place there. Pretty happy with where he's sitting at the moment. And 6th place still Don Eduardo. So Mr. Foster holding his own there at the moment. And he's got, pardon me, he's got a bit of a challenge coming from these 3 guys. Not the least of which will be Josh Mickelmore.
I was just watching a little bit further back. I was watching Ruben Barry and Tom Pritchard have a nice little battle there for a few laps, but Ruben's got on top of that.
Yeah, well, I believe we've got Jaden Russell and Josh Mickelmore battling there behind Edward Foster. And it was the number 12 car, who I can't think who it is at the moment. The number 12 car was putting up a real challenge to Edward's position, so trying to take that 6th spot with Edward running the outside line. So, yes, I'm just actually trying to look and see who's actually preferring that outside line now that we're up to a lap 120 of 200 in the 24/7 Sim Services ANZCAR Cup. Since we discussed earlier about the laying down that rubber on the early laps so that outside line works a bit better in the later stages of the race. And Edwards seemed to be quite happily running around the outside there.
The 12 car was Justin Witcher.
Oh, that's Justin. Okay, sorry. So just keeping an eye on things at the moment. Mickelmore, Russell and Martin running there with Luke Trahare right behind him, who had a very handy win in something the other night. And in fact, it may have actually been this race last week in the ANZCAR Cup. Edward Foster in behind him now. So Edward's dropped back about 4 spots, but he also knows it's early. I mean, with 78 laps to go, Edward's going to be one of the guys who thinks it's too early to push. But at the same time, he's not going to want to drop any further back than this. He's got Reuben Phelps all over him, and just trying to see who that is in that other car, that orange car. It's Barry. Okay.
I was just going to say...
Just so that people are aware, the feed that I'm getting can be a little bit pixely at times, so I have trouble seeing the number on the car, and I don't have a full list of the drivers in front of me, so that's on me. But it explains my being unsure about who it is that I'm actually talking about.
It's easy to tell Barry and Paul's cars apart. Paul's got the nice bright purple wheels.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, that's his Barry Neal in behind Edward Foster, and Edward's he's holding his own there at the moment. Barry at the same time sort of making moves like he wants to spot, but he's not going to get silly about it. Reuben's allowed these two to go and let a little bit of a gap open up. But they are a little spread out. They're certainly not bunched up or running too wide at the moment. Okay, so we take a look now at Nigel Payton and Neil Pearson, who are running at the front, and they've got a bit of a gap back to Andrew Dyson, who's sitting third. So these guys just maintaining those positions at the moment, running the laps down. It's all a bit of a strategy game for probably the first 170, 180 laps. But then come the last 20, we'll probably see these guys really open things up a little bit. It's a matter of actually being where you want to be when you hit your target lap. And these guys will know at what point in the race they really need to start pushing hard. But at the same time, they're going to want to defend the positions they've got because each spot you lose is a spot further back from where you want to be. And that's at the pointy end when you get to that magic point in the race where you know it's time to start really racing. Up until then, all we're doing is just sorting things out and seeing who's got what. The longer the green period as well is going to affect a lot of these guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how long we can actually maintain this as we hit lap 128 of 200. So 72 laps remaining in the 24/7 Sim Services ANZCAR Cup as we stream live to you through Facebook and YouTube. And thanks to those people who are actually watching out there and joining in on the live chat. Great to have you along with us. And I know Mark has been keeping a bit of an eye on that and checking the comments. We still see Dave Douglas in fourth, and he's quite comfortable there with a bit of a gap up to Andrew Dyson, but he's quite happily running along in fourth position. Started eighth tonight, and he's obviously up 4 spots, putting in 31 twos, which is probably about where you would expect. His fastest lap's been a 30.314, and that would have been early in the race. But running a 31.245 on that last lap is probably what you would expect to see somebody running at this point in the race in that position. He was leading for a little while, and he also did drop all the way back to 27th briefly, but that would have been through pit stops and that sort of stuff, I imagine. He's led 7 laps of this and had 2 pit stops. So that's pretty much how Dave Douglas's race has gone. The car is straight and the car is quick, and he appears to be quite happy running along there.
That's all the ingredients you need to be at the pointy end at the end of the race.
That's pretty much it. If we can just continue on with this at the moment, then I imagine we'll see Dave challenging at least for a podium, if not a win, when the time comes. But with a long way to still go, like 68 laps is still a long way around here. It's a 1.5 mile track. So 68 laps is, you're talking about something like nearly 100 miles to go. Anything can happen in that period of time.
Anything can and will happen.
And something else you need to consider in this too, as it gets later in the race, fatigue also comes into it. Now, it may not necessarily be tiredness, it may not be drowsiness, it could just simply be the endless roundy, holding position, roundy, and at some point you tend to go onto autopilot a little bit, and that's when things sometimes happen.
That's about lap 2 for me.
I've probably got to agree with that, actually. I probably don't get much beyond about lap 2 before I start to get into a bit of a routine and that sort of stuff. But especially at this point in the race, we're 134 laps in. It becomes fairly routine, for want of a better term. And unless you're battling side by side, if you're in a position like some of the front runners are, or even some of the back markers, they're running around virtually on their own. It starts to become a little bit autopilot territory, and your senses are not necessarily as sharp as they would be if you were in a battle like we're seeing here at the moment, as Mickelmore leads Martin, who leads, I think, as Jaden Russell. No, Brenton Hobson, actually. And then I think you've got Paul Jackson behind him, or is that Barry Neal?
No, it's Barry.
It's Barry. And
no,
then
purple wheels.
Silver wheels, okay. And Luke Trahir and Aidan Schultz back there as well. So these guys won't be in that comfortable position where it all seems to sort of fade lap after lap after lap yet. They've got something to keep their minds occupied, whereas some of the guys running around on their own with huge gaps between, front and rear, guys at the front running fourth, but they're all spaced out by anything up to about 6 or 8 car lengths. It starts to become a little bit smooth, and they're in a comfortable position. And the worst thing you can do here is be in a comfortable position, believe me. You really want your senses tingling, and you want to be alert and aware. And there are going to be drivers as this race drags on where that's not going to be the case, and that's when we may see things happen and bring out a caution.
Yeah, look, yeah, you were saying there about being in a battle group. That also can work against you, where you
sorry, mate. We've got Luke Trahere and Barry Neal have come together, and they've taken each other off track and into the infield wall. So, waiting to see if that brings out a caution. Yes, it does. So we are under caution. That's very interesting. I saw Barry actually moved up a little bit and gave Luke a bit of a tap halfway along the car in the side, and that's when Luke sort of came loose a bit and dragged Barry down the track with him. So, as you can see here, you'll see Barry actually move up and give Luke a tap, and Luke goes sideways there. And I think Luke may have been a little bit loose anyway because they were close, but I didn't think they were close enough that Barry actually drove into him.
This will give us a better look at it.
Barry has come up the track, but I think, yeah, Luke's come down the track to follow that line. And Barry's definitely come up onto him. Just ever so gently, but enough to get Luke loose. And they've both paid the price for it.
That's just an awkward dog leg.
Yeah, and unfortunate thing about that is they both probably could have kept that under control, except that when they hit the grass, they were still in contact. So that took away just about any option to get them under control. And they're both still under at speed, heading for the inside wall. That's very strange that they didn't manage to turn them to the right and give them a chance to catch them and rejoin. They've just both continued on at pace into the wall. Just about at that point, they were still together on the grass, which means that they're going to struggle to get them under control. But then the cars separated, and they just both seem to continue to the infield. So a little bit strange there, but that's going to have a big bearing on the race because that's going to bunch everybody up as Neil Pearson has taken the lead back from Matt Payton right before that caution came out.
I'm sorry. Did Neil and Andrew pit for tyres then?
Yeah, looks like everybody in the lead pack has pitted for tyres. I'm seeing everybody's been in the pits for 3 stops.
So
everyone should be able to make it home from here.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if that's the case, everyone should make it home from here.
Yeah, they should do it on fuel and they should do it on tyres from this point. So it'd be very unlikely that we see any green flag pit stops from this point onwards because, yeah, they should be able to do it on fuel and tyres from here for that last 59 laps, especially after a couple of laps behind the pace car. That'll extend it out a little bit.
And even Adam Malone's grabbed his second set of tyres as well. By the looks of it, he's been into the pits for the second time.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if he's in a decent position and he's back on the lead lap and he's got a set of tyres up under his sleeve and there's only 60 to go, then it's probably the smart thing to do to throw them on anyway. So you fuel it up, you throw fresh rubber on it, knowing that you can actually get well beyond the what is left in the race distance. It's probably a pretty smart move.
Yeah, watch out for him if we get a late caution. We'll have an extra set to chuck on and hopefully speed past everybody.
Well, that's exactly right. If we get a late caution, will we see Adam Malone stay out? That's going to be a good question. And to see who else may stay out. Thinking I've got fuel and I've got tyres, I don't need to stop. I'll stay out, gain a position, put themselves in a much better position for the closing stages of this race. Excellent stuff. It's all right. You hear me grunting and groaning a little bit. It's because I've been sat in the chair too long. Old man's disease. It's the results of of living a life. Unfortunately, is the good old days catching up with me.
I just so a couple of comments. So obviously we're not liked because the number one fan, Abigail, wants Carl back.
Who wants Carl back? Name and shame.
Abigail says, "Come back, Carl." So obviously we're not doing a good enough job.
No, that's fine. No worries, Abigail. Next week we're going to have Abigail Foster in the commentary box.
I don't think Ed'd like that. No, look, Carl's looks like he may be back next week. Let's hope so, because I know I'm not cut out for this job, and I know you only stepped in tonight, Steve, and
I enjoy doing it. I just don't want to do it while I'm being insulted. It's all right, Abigail. It's okay. It's fine. I actually said before we started, I said I've got the voice, but I'm not Carl Withy.
Yeah, true.
Carl basically, I've gone blank on the guy's name now. Yeah, Carl to sim racing is what Murray Walker was to Formula One.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, he does an excellent job. He knows his stuff.
And look, Carl spreads himself fairly thin over several leagues. You know, like ANZCAR. He does, I think, Thursday nights and Wednesday night and Thursday nights with the Xfinity, and he does.
He's probably laid back watching this. So good day, Carl. Yeah. And there you go. Look, yeah, people are calling for you to come back. So,
you know, Carl, he spreads himself over us, the Weekend Warriors, and he's also helping Wilco out on Sunday nights with the Super E series. So
he does a lot. But unfortunately, sometimes when the body actually says, now it's time to pay more attention to me, and you're at the point where you need an operation because your back's given out, then you've got no choice. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
He's got to look after himself. He's got to do what's right for him health-wise. So look, we all will look forward to Carl coming back. That's not a problem, because I'm a lazy sod. I'd much rather be laying in front of the TV watching this than commentating.
I should be watching the inside of my eyelids for a 3 a.m.
Well, that's
start.
it. Yep. I mean, well, you've been up since middle of the night, so you'll be struggling with this at the moment. But getting back to the racing, which is what we're all here for, and Neil Pearson leads this from Andrew Dyson and Dave Douglas as the field got bunched up on that last restart. So we once again, what I was saying before about the sensors being alert, everything's back to normal again now. As these guys are bunched up, they're all in battle packs, they're in groups, so they're all aware of what's going on around them and hopefully paying attention. Nigel Payton is actually side by side with, I think that's Hobson. As we get somebody off onto the infield, Nigel Payton, was it?
Yeah, Nigel.
You commentators cursed them.
Yeah, I'll mention his name. Sorry, Nigel.
Have a look and see if we can find what happened to him.
I've got a feeling he may have come together with, was that Hobbo or somebody on his outside?
Just got a little bit loose.
A little bit loose, done it all on his own.
Yep.
And right in front of Justin Witcher as well. So Justin would have been a bit surprised to see that. Yep, no, big gap there. No net code. Got loose. He's done it all on his own. Just that spot in the track where the rear end has actually just broken away a little bit. But he's caught that, done an excellent job of catching that and saving it and rejoining. He's just cost himself a bunch of positions in the field. There we go.
He's done well for it not to snap back to the right too.
He's done very well to catch that.
Oh, we've got another one on the infield there. I think it's Aiden.
Well, he seems to have caught it too, if that was the case. Oh, no, there we go. It's the replay. And, Aiden into the wall. He's got a tap. Was that Barry Neal there?
Yeah, Barry.
And he's rejoined, but he's given that inside wall a real smack.
Not sure which one to go with first. We'll have a look at the first one.
Now here we go. This is going to
Here's
be
the first
interesting.
one where he went through the grass.
Yep.
Oh, I think he's hit the apron there and it's unsettled it a little bit, maybe.
He's touched the apron and it's gotten a little bit loose. It's upset
Yeah.
the vehicle. And he's still loose trying to catch it. The back's come out on him. He's done a good job of catching that.
And then we'll go to the other one.
But I think
Who-
after this he rejoins and gets a tap with Barry Neal. And that's done the damage.
He was just trying to run the Roval.
So I think here's the second one.
Just here we go. And he's actually come up the track and into Barry.
No, into Paul.
Sorry, that's Paul Jackson, Purple
Yeah.
Wheels. And that's sent him off into the infield, and he's clouded that wall pretty hard.
Yeah.
He's clouded it straight off, actually, because if he'd have come off at more of an angle, he might have had a chance to gather that up and slow the car down. But when you're basically turning left and on a right angle and straight to the wall, which is almost what he did there, he's not had a chance to wash off a lot of speed. So that's going to be a pretty heavy hit. So I'd be interested to see what damage he's actually carrying now. But that's not a good time of the race to be doing that, lap 153.
While we've been watching all that action, the number that shall not be said is now up in the 7th. So he's starting to make his moves.
Well, we're inside the last quarter of the race, down to lap 47 to go. And we're going to start to see positions juggle and people making their move, so they can get themselves in a position to make a real run for it in that last 20 laps or so.
Yeah, definitely. There's that battle group there for 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. That's heating up with Josh, Ruben, Raymond and Tom Pritchard.
It's Tom Pritchard, number 15 car, yep. Yeah, so we've got a little battle pack there. They've got one spaced out in front of them, one spaced out behind them. And that group of four is starting to really push for position now, because they know it's getting to the end of the race, the point in the race where they need to actually do something about it. Comfortably sitting there and waiting for the laps to come down is just not, from this point onwards, going to be a great idea. This is the point where you need to start to push to get yourself further forward. You've got to be aiming for that position that you want to be in when we get down to about lap 180, so that you're actually in a position to make a move if you want to be on the podium or go for the win. Pardon me.
The battle group, Neil's checked out. He's got a 0.2 of a second gap over the next four, and been Daiso, Douglas, Justin Witcher, and the 88, Brenton Hobson. So Hobbo's been there just about all night, and at that pointy end.
A little bit like the bad penny for these guys. He just keeps popping up.
Yeah.
You
did well to keep hold of that.
we got to stop naming these guys, honest. Sorry, Brent. Almost brought you undone there, son.
That's why I didn't mention the number that shall not be mentioned.
But yeah, that was a great catch. He got a little bit loose and squirmy there. He's given up the position to Justin easily. obviously, because he's washed off a little bit of speed. But he's gathered it up, and he's back on back to business again. But he's actually got a bit of a gap back to whoever it is that wants to challenge his position, who I believe is Jason Martin, is it? Yep.
Yep.
And Jason will know what he's about. He hasn't had a great season in these cars either, but he's sitting in a fairly decent spot at the moment. As we take another look at our front three, Neil Pearson, Andrew Dyson, and Dave Douglas, still leading this one. Brought to you by 24/7 Sim Services. This is the ANZCAR Cup for the Next Gen Cup cars.
Right about now, your arms are starting to get a bit tired, and your right foot's starting to get a cramp in it. So it'll be interesting to see if we have anyone now inside the last 40 laps, whether we do get another caution.
Well, yeah, it looked like Justin Witcher got a little bit loose there in behind Dave Douglas, but seemed to gather it back up again. And, Dave Douglas has taken the spot away from Andrew Dyson, so that puts him into second. And he'll actually head off after Neil Pearson, seeing that we're down to lap 161, so 39 laps to go. Pardon me, as Dave Douglas moves back into second place, heads off after Neil Pearson. Justin Witch is going to take Andrew Dyson. So I'm not sure what's going on with Dyso there at the moment. But he's giving up a few positions. Perhaps he thinks it's a little bit too early to put up a fight. And Jason Martin is about 6-7 car lengths back from this fight, with Jaden Russell in between. Sorry, Brenton Hobson. The liveries are quite similar.
Now, Dyson's really dropped off here now, hasn't he?
I don't know. I don't know whether it's just that he thinks it's a bit early to be putting up a fight or what. Jason Martin runs along the apron.
Tell you what we're seeing a lot of is a lot of cars getting squirrely and loose off the corners. I think in the last couple of minutes or couple of laps we've seen about 3 or 4 different cars getting loose off the corners and going down low.
Well, the only thing I could think of with that, considering that it's only it's only about 24 laps since we last pitted, is that maybe some guys pushed a little bit hard on that last restart. Battled for position a bit harder than they probably should have. They've taken a few laps life off the tyres. They're pushing it through the turns, and it just doesn't have the grip that it should have had at this stage of the race. But that's a bad sign if guys are doing that, and the cars are getting a bit loose already. With 45 laps to go, it's not a good sign for them going all the way.
No, I think some of them are doing the right thing and they realise that, and they're starting to back off just that little bit. Yeah, but some of them may be praying for another caution to get another set of tyres on.
Well, Dyso's actually given up those 2 spots, but he doesn't appear to still be dropping back. He seems to be holding that spot now, so it may just been a case, as I said, that he just decided it was too early to put up a fight, knowing that he can still hold the spot without letting them get away. And keeping on the back of those couple of guys in front of him would be the most important thing at this point, rather than battling for position, wearing your tyres down a bit faster, that sort of stuff. And it puts you in a bad position when it comes down to the last 20. You don't have the tyres to put up a fight. So that could simply be what's going on as we watch Adam Malone now. And he's holding off Tom Pritchard. And 99 with DBR. I'm not sure who that is.
Darren Lobb.
Right, okay.
There's a bit of action going on here. Adam Malone's certainly charging pretty hard at the moment. Up to 11th now.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, what are his lap times like? Is he pushing harder or is he just being consistent? You know, we're not going any faster. Everybody else is going slower. So, you know.
I think we've seen Adam. If those guys in front of him are pushing that little bit too hard, Adam's even though Adam may be running a lower gear or a hot taller gear, he may be able to
He's got a
work his
tap.
way.
He's gotten a tap from the 23 car of Raymond Jaeger, and that's just washed a bit of speed off, and he's just lost the spot to both those guys. So yeah, that's a bit unfortunate.
It's a bit spicy.
It shouldn't really affect him. There's no damage or anything like that. I mean, he'll just continue on, but yeah, I bet it was a scary moment for him all the same. Sitting in 12th at the moment, although he's probably pushed him back to 13th with that move. So Pearson continues to lead, Dave Douglas second, and Justin Witcher in third spot. As we look at Dave Douglas, still about 4 car lengths behind the leader, Neil Pearson, who started on pole position tonight. The temperature at the moment is 28 degrees Celsius and 82 Fahrenheit. A little bit of cloud cover. Track temp's 31 or 88 Fahrenheit. So that's fairly warm out there. So whether that's actually having an impact on the tyres this late in the race or not, I can't really tell you, but 31 degrees is quite warm. I think the tyres tend to react to that a bit. Justin Witcher in third, Andrew Dyson still holding fourth place. So Dyso's still in this. He's obviously just given up those 2 spots earlier, and he's pulled one of them back again, and all over the back of Justin Witcher. But Andrew will be keeping an eye on that lap counter. He'll know exactly where he is lap-wise, how far to go, and he'll know when he needs to start really making a move, which will be probably, you'll see stuff like that sometime in the next 10 laps or so. In fact, he's moving to the outside there to try and make a move on Justin Witcher, who holds him out.
He got a little bit taily there, coming off that turn then. I'm just, I wouldn't bet if we do see another caution, or just about the whole field come in and take another fresh set of tyres and make it a sprint race.
For anybody who's actually still got them too.
Yes.
That could be a situation for some of these guys where they know they're on their last set of tyres. And it all comes down to the way you drive. I mean, for instance, there's absolutely no way known in God's green earth that the way I drive, I would have actually made a set of tyres last as long as Adam Malone did. So some different drivers, especially on the open setup, different drivers, as we've said, will drive different ways. And you're going to see different strategies. A lot of these guys will run pretty similar and in sync with one another. But you're going to get guys who are going to be further back in the field. They're going to be getting tired. They're going to have a lapse in concentration. They've possibly driven their tyres harder than they should have. And we may end up seeing some of these guys get a little bit loose and cause a caution. Whether they take anybody with them or not is another matter. As we see Dave Douglas, apparently putting a lap on Aidan Schultz, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, that spin for Aidan didn't help him at all. His first race back after a couple of weeks off, he would have been looking for a good result, and unfortunately, it hasn't happened for him tonight.
Let's be honest. I mean, until he had those couple of little incidents there back to back, he actually wasn't in a particularly bad position. He was running okay, but he got a bit loose, went across the grass, caught it, had a coming together with Paul Jackson, and then across into the infield wall. So it's definitely done the damage, and because of that lack of speed and whatnot, it's just put him down through the field. Now he's being lapped by the leaders.
Not a bad little battle here for What are we? Fifth and sixth and seventh coming?
Yeah, so we've got Jason Martin. Is that Brenton Hobson and I think Jaden Russell behind them?
Nah, the number that shall not be called.
Okay, so yeah, it's the Don. Okay,
Yeah.
so he's sitting in a pretty good position there at the moment, watching these two. All three of these guys will be waiting for their opportunity and waiting to see how things unfold. They're in a pretty decent spot at the moment. And lap 178, so in the next probably 6 to 10 laps, we'll probably start to see things unfold a bit as these guys and those in front of them start to really try and position themselves for the finish.
Second half of the race has been a lot cleaner now that everyone's settled down.
Yeah, exactly, and that's pretty much what I expected for the second half to settle down a little bit. I mean, you've got the except for any caution periods. I mean, the guys are spread out fairly well. It's all about just positioning yourself at the moment rather than racing hard. As we see, Reuben Phelps, and is that Josh Micklemore with him there?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm just having a little look through the timing data, looking for any sort of close battles, but they're all sort of mostly about half a second gaps.
Someone run out and throw some oil on the track.
The closest battles are pretty much first and second, third and fourth, and fifth, sixth, and seventh.
So not much is changing here at the moment. There's a fair old gap back from fourth to fifth, which is Jason Martin, followed by Brenton Hobson and the other guy. And there's a bit of a gap there ahead of those guys. First, second, third, and fourth are all pretty much settled into a position at the moment. They're all 2 or 3 car lengths apart. Dave Douglas about 2-3 car lengths behind Neil Pearson, who continues to lead. Justin Witcher sits in third and Andrew Dyson in fourth.
I think if Dyso wants to get that position back, he needs to start making his move now.
Well, 19 laps to go, coming around to click over 18 laps to go, and there's still a fair gap from second to third. And as you said, I think if Dyson wants that third spot, I think now's the time he needs to take it and then try and hold it.
Yeah.
I mean, Justin can be aggressive with his driving, so taking it from him now might simply mean a 10 or 15 lap battle. But the fact is that if you don't do something now, you never will.
Yeah, definitely right.
First and second are pretty comfortable where they are at the moment and don't appear to need to push, although I'm pretty sure Dave's going to want to go for the win. But another few laps, I think we might see him start to really challenge Neil Pearson.
Matt, we've had a request to have the timing tower back up, mate.
Oh, the timing tower. Yeah, I keep forgetting I got all these things I should be showing.
That's
Fatigue settling in as well.
Yeah, it's in the commentary box as well as on the track, believe me.
Well, it's late for you over there. What, it'd be midnight now, wouldn't it, Matt?
Yeah, it's 12:24.
Well, what we've got here at the moment is Neil Pearson still continues to lead with a half a second gap back to Dave Douglas, and another 3/10 back to Justin Witcher, who's actually got about a 4/10 gap back to Andrew Dyson in fourth place. But there's a reasonable gap back to fifth place, which is Jason Martin, and then we see Brenton Hobson in sixth. That car in 7th. Josh Micklemore in 8th. Reuben Phelps is 9th. Nigel Payton in 10th. Lob is 11th. Malone 12th. So good to see Adam Malone still up in a reasonable position here at the moment, but 14 seconds back. Button 13th. Pritchard 14th. And Raymond Yeager back in 15th spot. And you can tell I've been sat in the chair for a while because I'm now standing up. Because the pain in my rear end and down through my thighs was getting a little bit too much for me, sitting for such a long period of time. So yes, Carl, please come back.
Yeah,
I don't want Carl to come back earlier than he needs to, though. That's the thing.
No,
He needs to take the time to get himself sorted out. Because only going to make himself worse if he comes back just simply because he wants to.
And I mean to say, you've got the filling guys here, so...
Well, that's it.
a bit of a battle again for second, third, and fourth. I think Dyson's going to have a run.
Yeah,
Comes
Dyson's
that move by Dyso that I was talking about. He's going to try and take this third spot. Now it's time. You can see 11 laps to go. He wants that spot. He wants that podium. And unless he can take that spot, he can't move forward and challenge Dave Douglas for second. But this battle is actually bringing them closer to Dave Douglas as well. So by the time, they got a little bit too close there. There was almost a touch. As Dyson gets that spot and then blocks and shuts the door so that Justin Witcher can't just simply take it back. But he's still going to have to drive defensively. Justin Witcher is going to want that spot back as he drops to the inside line, and Dyso shuts the door on that one. But Dave Douglas will be aware of this in his rearview mirror, and they are all over the back of Dave Douglas. Dave's had some sort of a problem. He's just washed off a lot of speed.
Oh, this is going to get spicy.
Oh, through wide. This is not going to be good.
Don't have
almost
Justin.
3 wide through the tri-oval there, but second, third, and fourth.
I don't know if Justin will be too happy about how he was passed.
I think we can safely say that we're done with the quiet fatigue period of the race. This one is actually coming alive again now. Neil Pearson's running away with this. He's just making the most of putting a gap there. But something's happened with Dave Douglas. He's washed off a lot of speed, and he's gained it back again now, but it makes it a 3 wide battle. 3 wide.
There we go.
Oh,
there we go.
go.
And that takes out...
This will bring out a caution, I'd say.
This
yet.
should bring out a caution, which will bunch the field up. Neil
Yeah,
Pearson,
well, here it is.
Neil Pearson will not be happy about that, because that just wipes out the gap that he had there on his lead, as both third and fourth place gone, taking each other out there. And Dave Douglas has managed to actually escape that. So he'll maintain second place. And Dyson and Witcher both coming together and across the infield.
It was brewing for a few laps, that's for sure.
It was, because we're at that point of the race where the guys are starting to battle hard for position. They know the time's running out, laps are getting down, and they really do need to start grabbing these positions by the scruff of the neck. And unfortunately, what's happened is I think that Dyso's just got a bit loose.
Yeah, and he's come down.
He's avoided Dave Douglas, come down and contacted with Justin Witcher, who was inside and probably saw Dyso get loose, but wasn't in a situation where he could do anything about avoiding him. And that's taken the two of them across the infield. So that has basically, with 7 laps to go, has put Andrew Dyson and Justin Witcher out of the running for a podium here, as Witcher actually cleans up the wall.
Douglas in the pits.
Dave Douglas in the pits. So
Mitchell
I'm guessing that was tyres that caused him to drop off and get challenged there. So Dave Douglas in the pits under caution.
Jump into the pits.
Will Neil Pearson pit?
Yeah, he's gone in.
He's
he
gone
went
in?
Yep.
Okay, so that elevates Jason Martin up to 3rd place. But watch this race off pit road. There's Pearson at the front there, getting all 4
Hobson.
tyres. Hobson has actually gotten out in front, and then Pearson, Douglas, Martin. Oh, yes.
Foster.
Hobson's taken 2 tyres, I reckon.
Yeah, Ed's either not taken tyres or only taken 2. And he's actually picked up a couple of spots there, so that's put him right up the pointy end. Dyson's got no front on that car, and he's just left the pits. But he'll be back positions. But with the car damaged that badly, I don't see him mounting any kind of a challenge for the closing stages of this race. 6 laps to go at the 24/7 Sim Services ANZCAR Cup at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And with a little bit of a reshuffle as we come through a caution period. And if you missed it, Neil Pearson leads, Dave Douglas second, and Jason Martin third. But Brenton Hobson got out of the pits in front of Neil Pearson. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that reshuffles that order. But that 1, 2, 3 I just announced, that is what's listing officially. And there's Neil, Dave, and Jason Martin. Adam Malone going past the camera there. And Norman Clark, who we haven't seen a lot of tonight.
No, he's the quiet achiever. He's come up a fair way. What's he done? He's come up. He started 28th, so he's done really well to get up to 14th.
He's had 9 pit stops to fix all that damage throughout the night.
Is he on the lead lap at the moment?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
So he's come up halfway through the field, had all the damage, lots of pit stops. He's still on the lead lap. That's a pretty damn good drive, but I would expect that from Norman. He's he can give just about anybody a masterclass on how to actually run these races.
So at the front, yeah, we're going to have Hobson in the lead, and he's only going to have 2 right side tyres. And everybody else behind him will have 4 tyres. That's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
Looking at, what are we looking at? 4 green laps by the time we go back to racing.
Possibly 2 or 3.
May even be a green-white.
Just looking to see. The lights are out on the pace car, I think.
So it should be forming up this lap.
So with 4 laps to go, we'll have 3 green. So it's going to be an absolute sprint to the finish. Now, Neil Pearson's led most of this tonight. He's not going to want to relinquish it to Hobson now. But Hobson, as I said, got out of the pits ahead of him. So that was a lightning pit stop from Brenton Hobson to get himself into the lead. Now, if Hobson can get a good start on this, Pearson may struggle to fight off Dave Douglas, who's sitting there with bated breath, waiting to actually get going. Jason Martin sitting there on the second row alongside Dave Douglas and behind Neil Pearson. So those 4 guys are going to be the ones to watch on this restart, because the pace car should be going off this time around. You can see Dave Douglas getting right up behind Brenton Hobson. He wants to get going with this. He's not going to wait. And I think he's expecting Hobbo to get a good start.
I would expect Hobbo to jump a little bit early with those older tyres on the inside as well.
Neil Pearson took all 4. So whether
he's gone.
There goes Hobbo. Neil Pearson's going to go with him, and then Dave Douglas. And you're going to have Jason Martin fighting off that other fella. So Edward Foster getting himself into a decent position there, alongside Jason Martin, but in front of Josh Micklemore. And I believe that is our friend Mr. Reuben Phelps sitting there as well. So Reuben's had a pretty clean and quiet night tonight and got himself into a good spot. But we're 3 laps down.
Oh, he's
and
It's pushed up.
This is going to be a mess.
That's a mess.
And who is going to survive this?
Oh, Dave's involved. Reuben's involved.
That's Neil Pearson getting into Brenton Hobson and turning him. And Jason Martin nowhere to go, into the back of Neil Pearson. So
Let's
what
see if
I'm
we can-
interested in seeing is where Micklemore and Foster came out of all that. Did they miss it, or did they get caught up in it?
Nah, they both missed it, I believe.
Just trying to find the start of all of that.
I think it was about a halfway round on that first green lap.
And it is up here.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how Neil Pearson actually got into the rear corner, the left rear quarter of Brett and Hobson when they're both running on the outside. So here we go with Neil
Neil's
Pearson.
five.
He's dropped down to the inside to position himself to try and make a move for the lead. And he's obviously come up the track. We've got 4 fresh tyres on, so they'll be stone cold.
He's just got tight and pushed up the track. And maybe
The
Hobson's come down at the same time.
The car's pushed up the track on cold, fresh rubber. And he's just given Hobbo a tap. Hobbo's gone around trying to catch it. And then I think he's just maybe another little tap there from Neil Pearson with nowhere to go, and Martin into the back of him with nowhere to go. And Dave Douglas has gone into the wall to avoid all that. He's gotten loose and into the wall. So 1, 2, 3 gone. And you see Foster and Micklemore jump to the front.
And so you know who shall be starting out at P1.
And Neil Pearson's managed to continue on with that, and he's sitting in third. And we've got bodies everywhere on the pavement.
And she was a parking lot.
It is. So parking lot coming out of the tri-oval. But it does put the Don first, Micklemore probably second, and I think Neil Pearson will hang on to third.
Actually,
because he seemed to be able to get through that with minimal damage. He's probably going to have something in the rear and a bit of a rub mark on the front because Jason Martin had nowhere to go and gave him a bit of a tap up the bum. Dave Douglas is the one that's got me curious because he seemed to avoid that, but then got loose. I think he must have gone down onto the apron or something.
He's gone down below
and he's gotten loose on the apron, on the edge of the apron there where
it moves the
racing surface, and gotten himself loose and up into the wall and turned it around. So what a shame for Dave Douglas to avoid that altogether, but then have his own little mishap after running so well.
I think with the timing loop as well, with the moment the cautions come out, Neil was using the last scoring data. Neil was still in the front there, so Neil is going to lead them out again.
Right, so that's dead. So iRacing's moved him up to the front, so that puts him first. And then we've got Foster, Micklemore. That's your top 3 at the moment. And we're going to go green, white checker by the looks of it.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to, I don't want to, but I'm going to actually predict Edwards got the pace to take that position away. Micklemore will go with him, and then we've got Nigel Payton in 4th.
So this one restart
when
will
I
be
say
a green white.
Well, sorry, I was going to say when I don't want to, I mean I don't want to jinx him.
This will be a green white checker start as well, so this will be just a straight 2 laps or the next flag ends it.
So it's come down to this, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Dyson is sitting in the 3rd row. Well, there you go. With all that damage and that incident that all but took him out, and it seemed to have taken out Justin Witcher, Andrew Dyson has managed to get himself up to 6th position.
Lights are out on the pace car.
I'm going to leave it on the blimp view, and that gives us enough ability to see a bit more action.
And we've got Norman Clark on the next row back. So
Yeah, I was just gonna-
Norman's come right up through the field now. Even since we were just talking about him a little while ago, he's cut those positions in half again.
I was just going to say, don't count out those guys there. Norman, Paul, Stevie Dubs.
So
Yep.
Paul Jackson, who's that in the purple car there? I can't quite make out the number.
Nathan Button.
Oh, that's Nathan Button. So Nathan's got himself up in a good position.
Could be a Bradbury going on.
And drag race off the start. We are green. Neil Pearson has absolutely gone for it. And he's got Foster, Micklemore, Nigel Payton, Andrew Dyson, Button, Clark, Jackson. They've just all chasing after him. But Pearson's done a hell of a job on that restart. What a great start that was, Mark.
Yeah, I think that's
unbelievable. I'd say Neil's got this unless
Yep, I
something
think that's
drastically happens.
he's won that with that restart, I believe.
That's the start he needed. He knew he needed to do that because of who was around him and was going to challenge him for first. And
So it doesn't matter what happens here, that we will get a checker this time round.
so it's a pretty safe bet that Neil Pearson's going to take this. You've got Edward Foster and Josh Micklemore battling for second, and then Nigel Payton back in fourth. Andrew Dyson still sitting fifth. He'll take a top 5 on this by the looks of it. And there we go. We've got the checker. So Neil Pearson wins it. Edward Foster, second place. Josh Micklemore, third. Nigel Payton, fourth. And Andrew Dyson, top 5 after that incident a while back that took out Justin Witcher and badly damaged Dyso's car. Dyso's managed to bring it home top 5, so great effort from him. And possibly the driver of the night, Norman Clark.
Yeah, I was going to say either Norman or Paul. They both of them started at the 28th and 29th, but a great drive.
Neil Pearson not going to do the burnout. He's disappeared off the screen. So there you go. That race is run and done. And as the dust settles, we see Neil Pearson hang on for the win, with Edward Foster second place and Josh Micklemore rounding out the podium.
All right, guys, I'm sorry to do this, but I need to take off and go get some beauty sleep. I need to be up early. To all our fans out there, thanks for watching from me, and I'll leave you with Matt and Steve to do the post-race.
No worries at all. Thanks very much for tonight, Mark. I know that you're tired and you've got work and you've been up a long time, so thanks very much for sitting in tonight, and great to work with you again.
No worries, mate. We'll be back again next week, unless Carl's back in deck, but I don't think he will. I think the race fans will just have to put up with us for one more week.
Might have to just put up with us again, and we don't drink Red Bull, so we don't get as hyper as Carl does. I mean, I'm commentated with him, and sometimes I've sat there and going, is he going to stop for a breath at some point? So the guy gets wound up and he gets going, but he's good at what he does. So I'll be happy to see him back. But if he's not here next week, then I'm happy to sit in again. So we'll see how we go. But there, we've got your unofficial results up on screen at the moment. So Neil Pearson for the win, Edward Foster second, Josh Micklemore third, Nigel Payton fourth, Andrew Dyson amazingly fifth place, Nathan Button sixth, great run from him, Norman Clark up to seventh after starting 28th, and we're up 21 positions. That's just fantastic stuff. Stephen Williams 8th, Paul Jackson 9th, up 20 positions. Jai Schultz rounds out the top 10. So there's your top 10. 11th, Ruben Phelps, dropping back 6 spots from his start in 11th. Gary Wellman 12th. Christopher Finlay 13th. Aidan Schultz, with that bad luck towards the latter stages of the race there, was running well but finished 14th. Noddy Tompkins 15th. Dave Douglas, unfortunate there at the end, should have been on the podium in 16th. Jason Martin, 17th. Raymond Yeager, 18th. Darryl Lobb at 22nd. And Adam Malone, 21st. So a bit of a shame. I expected to see Adam finish higher than that, Matt.
Yeah, I expected as well. I think he might have got caught up in that those last big wrecks that were on there. Looks like it's the old scoring data's throwing them out of order as well. It's got confused about everything that went on there at the end too.
I can see that. But I was wondering where Justin finished actually after that late incident that took him out of the race with Daiso. But 23rd has got him listed as. Barry Neal, 24th. Luke Trier, 25th. Jaden Russell, 26th. Jamie Nankervis, after an early rough start, 27th. Stuart Patterson, after a couple of hiccups, in 28th. Michael Skurlock, unfortunate tonight, in 29th. And Matt Payton, very unfortunate tonight, through no fault of his own, in 30th. So that takes us to Matt Knight, who also had a bit of an unfortunate night through no fault of his own, in 31st. Scott Griffiths, 32nd. Devon Stove, who also was a bit of a victim tonight, in 33rd. Kobe Jordan, 34th. Billy Hickey, who we spoke to earlier, 36th after an early incident. Brad Allison, who was very unfortunate tonight and got caught up in somebody else's business, 37th. Mirko Doutnak, 35th. And Adam Tice, 38th. So that's your field tonight for the 24/7 Sim Services ANZCAR Cup at Charlotte. And round 14, I believe it was. 200 laps, done and dusted, Matt.
Yeah, hell of a long race there. Got a bit quiet in the middle, but yeah, obviously it picked up a bit there. Towards the end with a few crashes.
The quiet period certainly set us up for that ending, where it all became very exciting again, and green white checker and all that sort of stuff. So what we might do is, since I don't think I can, I will get Matt to maybe drag up our third place getter.
Yep, I'm going to grab Josh now and bring him up.
Yep, thank you. Josh Micklemore. Steve in the commentary box. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Yourself? Good to see
I'm
you.
not too shabby. Mate, good run there tonight. Nice and clean and patient for the majority of it. Third place, congrats, well done. What do you got for us? Your outlook, your overview.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with the outcome. Obviously, not sure if I deserved third, but we had a fairly decent car, to be honest. Probably had a bad call at the start, not pitting on lap 28 or something it was, and then when we did pit the next one, we had to start from 20th or whatever. So we're working our way back since then, unfortunately. But it was good fun trying to get back through the field, and a few wrecks and stuff we had to get past, and we managed to get past them finally. And
especially that last one.
Bit of luck came our way again tonight. So yeah, and here we are.
Well, the strange part about it was when that final incident occurred, you and Edward both made it through untouched. But because of when the caution came out, it still had Neil in first place. So on the restart, it had him positioned first instead of behind you guys. So that was a bit strange. It was just a matter of timing more than anything else. But look, third is third, and it's on the podium, and you've got the fistful of points for the championship. So you've got to be happy about that part of it.
Yeah, so we're only just inside the top 10 at the moment. So we're on the fence of being into the chase at the moment. But there is a long way to go, obviously. But we just need a couple of decent results, and tonight's definitely going to help that point situation being so close on the outside of the chase. So.
All the points count. They all add up. And you brought the car home, well, pretty clean from what I can see. You don't appear to have any marks or damage on it whatsoever. Did you sort of have a rabbit's foot hanging in the rear view mirror or something tonight?
I think myself and Aidan Schultz, we both had a little dooring bloody incident there. And I think he went up the fence a bit. There's no intentional stuff, obviously. But apart from that, no damage at all. So it was good.
Well, it was unfortunate for Aidan. He had a couple of mishaps back-to-back there on the same lap. but had been running really well up until that point. And we spoke to him about mid-race, and he was very happy with the way he was going, and he wasn't counting his chickens and that sort of stuff. But then late in the race, he had that incident where he went off onto the grass and then straight away got back on track, lost it, got loose, hit the wall, basically ended up being a lap or two down. So, but look, fantastic drive. You want to give anybody a shout out, mate, while we got you?
Yeah, thanks to Jason for giving me a hand testing out the setup. I've been working hard the last few days on it. So yeah, cheers to Jason. Unfortunately, he didn't get the result. He probably should deserve to be up here instead of me tonight. But yeah, cheers to Jason, helped me out this week. And our sponsors, of course, Affinity Constructions Australia, Mad As Designs, and ANZCAR for putting on the event and broadcasting, and of course Matt Hunter as well. Actually, he put a lot of work into the broadcast for Thursday nights, and looking bloody ripper, man. So. And you too, Hobbo, for jumping on tonight. Hobbit, sorry.
No, that's fine. Hobbo's fine, mate. That's okay. As long as you don't
Mad Dog.
As long as you don't get me mixed up with Hobbo, that might upset Brenton a bit. Look, congratulations again, mate, and well done on the podium finish after a pretty stellar race and keeping it clean and being patient and just playing the long game for 200 laps. Well done to you.
No worries. Cheers, guys.
Okay, thanks, mate. All right, second place. We'll get Mr. Foster up here and have a little bit of a word.
Here he comes now.
Our second place tonight. Second place, Edward Foster, the man who wasn't named throughout the majority of the race because we didn't want to jinx him. How are you?
I think the reason I wasn't named is probably because I wasn't doing anything. I was kind of just lurking around in between sort of 8th and 10th and 15th and that kind of area, just getting in the way. So, yeah, look, it looked like a much better battle up the front. We just, honestly, I'm the luckiest guy alive. I didn't deserve that at all, but yeah, I'll take it.
Well, mate, I think Abigail was actually more active on the chat than you were on track tonight. So,
yeah, look, I mean. Look, I went out, like, I'm not great at setting these cars up, so I went out and bought one, I put my hand up and say, yeah, we went out and bought one. And, like, I thought it was going to be all right, and it actually wasn't that good. Like, it was all right at the start of the run, and then after a while, it'd sort of start pushing in, and then you get to the centre of the corner, and it'd sort of break loose. And you might have seen a little bit of that, like, I was just getting up in the turns and then it'd snap loose and then I'd overheat the rears and I couldn't catch it and I'd drop a bunch of spots and it was a nightmare. But kept working on it. Every pit stop, we changed something, messing with tyre pressures and so on, trying to fix it. And by the last run, it wasn't too bad. Like, it wasn't fast, but it was okay. Like, it was just kind of hanging in there. And I was pretty happy. Like, I had a bit of a dig at Hobbo to see if I could get him, and I was going to be quite happy to sort of trail home in about 7th or 8th and just chalk it up to experience. But, yeah, then a few guys got a bit eager in front of me and, yeah, managed to avoid that and drag off a P2, which is, it's ridiculous for the setup we had, the car we had. It's P2 is ridiculous. So,
well, that's happy. It, yeah.
I didn't deserve it, though.
Well, I've found the same as far as the bought setups are concerned. I mean, I actually paid for a setup for the Daytona 500, and it served me very, very well. Then I bought another one for a US race, which was an open setup thing, and it was just the worst thing. It was an absolute dog, and that was actually that was in the Xfinity cars, and it was an absolute dog. Yet the one I'd gotten from the same place for Daytona, I was at one with the car. I was really comfortable in it and that sort of stuff. So I suppose it could be a bit of a luck of the draw as far as that's concerned, with whether the driver's comfortable with it or whether he feels like the open setup is working. But, yeah, so saying that you actually went and bought one, which no shame in that. I mean, I do it all the time. I'm no engineer. So, yeah, that sort of blew away half the questions I was going to have about setting the car up with the open setup for this race. But you've obviously struggled with it, as you said tonight, and back and forward. And I noticed a few times you were further back in the field than I'd seen you earlier and stuff. So with the little glitches here and there and getting loose and stuff, it does cost you position. A whole lot of luck there at the end, though. You'll be probably the first one to say so and all that. But you and Josh both managed to get through that incident. I asked him about it right at the end there. And basically, it had the two of you at the lead, but because of when the caution flag came out and the timing of it, it retained Neil Pearson in the lead because it came out just before you guys got through on him. So a little unfortunate not to win, but then I suppose you wouldn't have been too happy to win it in that fashion either, would you?
Oh, I would have been stoked to win it in any fashion. I don't care how it comes, but yeah. Look. Even if I'd started first and Neil, I would have needed Neil to pick up some really heavy damage in that. You'd be able to beat him. He was the car to beat all night. Long run, short run. He was just quick. So, look. As soon as he was starting on the pole, didn't seem to have a lot of damage there. It really kind of rubbed me out, and I was just planning to try and hold on to the car because it wasn't good on that first lap after any kind of caution or anything like that. So I was more just focusing on keeping Josh behind than having a dig at Neil. But certainly, if things had been slightly different, Neil put his hand up and say that he caused that wreck with Hobbo there at the end. So I mean, if he got caught up in that, then that might have given us a chance to maybe do something. But I mean, I'm not going to complain. I didn't deserve P2. I deserved maybe 7th, 8th, 9th, something like that. Came away with a P2, so yeah, I'll have it.
Well, you started 12th, obviously. You've come up 10 spots in a second. Briefly in first place. You dropped back as far as 20th during the race, so you've had an eventful one back and forward through the field, yeah. It's got you as leading a lap, and you've had 4 pit stops. So, yeah, finishing where you are, it really turned out to be probably, as you said, maybe a better night than you thought you were going to get. So you're there anyway, second place, a fistful of a good haul of points for the championship there. So well done to you, mate. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just shouts out to all the guys who finished tonight. First of all, it's a really long race. You kind of forget how long it is, and then you get those few cautions at the start, and I think it had been about an hour's worth of racing or something like that. We'd only done about 50 laps. And then, after we started to get those long green runs and everything, everybody who stuck that one out to the end absolutely deserves it. And there were some sketchy setups out there, especially once they started to get some wear on the tyres. So, anyway, shouts out to you guys for coming in, jumping in and subbing in for Carl there and sticking in to the end because long night for you guys as well. And just shouts out to AJD and Fully Flawed, the team sponsors, and Norman as well for getting a great P7. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was something else that I noticed because I sort of half kept an eye on how Norman was going tonight, and he's come up 21 positions with multiple pit stops, fixing damage and whatnot. And Norman, being Norman, the old warhorse, has managed to come through with a 7th position. So he drove an exceptional race tonight. So that's more Norman Clark, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. We were sort of talking through the race about how to tweak on the car to make it, sort of better. And we managed to get something acceptable there at the end. It would have been nice to have it sort of earlier in the race because I nearly wrecked about probably 15 times. But I know Norman was sort of struggling with it as well, sort of in that horrible period it went through after about sort of in between lap 10 and lap 20 on the tyres. It was really bad, but we managed to get something acceptable at the end and came away with more than we deserved. So, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. All right, mate. Congratulations again on 2nd place and a good haul of points for the championship. And we'll see what you can do with it when you move on next week and back to fixed setups again.
Yeah, we'll see how it all turns out. So, I mean, the fast guys are still going to be the fast guys. All the quick guys are still going to be there up the front to beat. It doesn't get any easier, that's for sure.
It doesn't. All right, thanks very much. 2nd place, Edward Foster.
Thanks.
And we'll get Matt to drag up our race winner tonight, Neil Pearson, who started from pole and he had a great night tonight. And has managed to actually hang on for the win tonight. 1st place, Neil Pearson. Congratulations on the win, mate.
Thank you very much. I wish I deserved it a bit more than I did. I feel pretty bad for what happened with Hobson. So, I mean, I just honestly
I've already already given him your address, mate. He's going to come around and see you about it.
I'm sure he would. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I thought the car was going to hook up, and it didn't. And yeah, it's all on me. So it would have been better to race cleanly to the end. I feel pretty shit. So
Well, that last restart after that incident, you really did get the restart you needed. Edward Foster and Josh Micklemore, Dave Douglas. Well, actually, Dave Douglas was before that. He actually lost out on that incident by trying to avoid it. But with Josh Micklemore, Jason Martin, Edward Foster, those guys breathing down your neck. Even Norman Clark sitting back on the third row for the restart. You really did need a start like that. You just blasted away. So that was excellent stuff on the restart.
yeah, it's pretty easy to get a jump when you're in first. So that's probably why I was a little bit more panicked with Hobbo and did how it turned out with what it did. I was just trying to get all I could. But yeah, I knew once I was there, I had fresh tires and low fuel, and I just drove it like it was qualifying, and it actually hooked up the second time, so which was nice.
Starting from pole tonight was also a big one. And you've led a big, huge bulk of this race, 124 laps led. You dropped back to 15th at one point, probably just through pit stops and whatnot. But starting first, finishing first, leading 124 laps through 4 pit stops. And your last lap, according to what I have here, was your fast lap. And it was a 30.08. So
Yeah, wow.
you did a bit of a Peter Brock on that one, mate.
Yeah, like I said, it had no fuel in it at the end. I just put tires on it at the last stop. So yeah, that's when they're at their fastest, when there's no fuel and fresh tires. So I just did everything I could to drive away from the guys behind.
No, it looks fantastic stuff. You drove a great race. As I said, you don't lead 124 laps without doing something right. So well done on that. That's just a fantastic thing. 124 laps led out of 200. And I know that you're battling with Josh Micklemore early on there, and he actually led quite a few laps. So that would have been probably pretty. Was it a bit hard to take, knowing that you'd given up the lead to him in that way, and you just couldn't seem to just pull it back off him, or?
Well, it was going to be tight with fuel if it went green. So basically, on the start, I just dropped back to just follow in the draft and save some fuel, and get to the lap that I needed to if it stayed green. So it would be a 2-stopper instead of a 3. So that's all that was. I was just cruising, following him, just saving the stuff. And then towards the end of and then when we had all those cautions at the start, that kind of went out the window, so I could drive it a bit harder. And I think that's when I took off a bit and led all the laps.
Yeah, that first half of the race was a bit messy, and certainly threw a few strategies out the window. But look, patience has paid off, and as Edward said a moment ago when I was talking to him, we were talking about getting back to fixed setups next week, and he said, the people who keep winning always keep winning, and and whatnot. So, look, fantastic drive, a nice patient drive, and fairly steady, mate. I mean, you didn't seem to be pushing it overly hard. Some people did further back in the field and obviously paid the price. So well done on that. And you got the result that comes from driving it that way. So excellent stuff. Well done. You want to give a shout out to anybody?
Yeah, just want to say big thanks to you guys for the broadcast that you guys do. I look forward to watching it later and probably skipping over the last question. I already had a look at it, and you guys did a pretty good cover of what happened. Yeah, I just want to thank simrigs.com, Southwell Listen Hoist, Benamax Mechanical, Phoenix Smokers, NP Designs, and just ANZCAR for the series that they're running. It's always good fun running. Oh, and also, my teammates, it's good having them in there, and, we got a few good results tonight, so which is good.
Yep, no, not a problem at all, mate. It was a good result. You've got a really good haul of points for the championship as we go into round 15 next week and back into fixed setups. So, Did you? I mean, really, just as an opinion, as race winner, did you enjoy running with the open setup, or would you prefer to be on a fixed setup?
Well, honestly, I've signed up to run in an American series, and they run open setups. So this is actually like really good practice, so I can
Right.
run that. So, but yeah, I think fixed setup's good because you can just rock up on the night and learn the setup there, and everyone's going to be equal, and it's going
Yeah.
to be best on. It's the driver, really wins. So that's the good thing about fixed setups, but open setups actually has the benefit where like it could throw you get a good car under you and you can show your skills. Like Nigel Patton, he was running really well. He led 30 laps tonight, and I mean that's amazing because we don't normally see him up the front like that. And there was one stint when he was leading those laps, I was trying hard to pass him, and I just couldn't. Like the dirty air was horrible, and it took me a long time, and it took him burning the right rear up just that bit to allow me to pass him. So it's
Yeah.
good to see different people up the front with that. Like we got Nigel Patton, Nathan Button, Norman Clark, Paul Jackson, Jai Schultz, in the top 10,
Yeah.
where some of those guys might struggle to get top 10s, which just comes down to learning how to drive that fixed setup because it is completely different to drive compared to the open.
Well, it was good to see Nathan Button up in what, sixth or seventh or something at the end there. So,
Yeah, sick.
I mean, he got in the podium or something a few weeks ago, and it was just incredible to watch. That was actually the last time I commentated, I think, with Carl, and that was a just fantastic drive from him. So the car looked a bit battered and bruised, but he did manage to get his nose up into that well into that top 10 tonight. So he should be proud of that as well. As should some of the other guys that finished at the pointy end. But look, open setups bring all sorts of results and all sorts of pit strategies, and it is what it is. And we've run it, and we're back to fixed setups next week. So back to what you're normally used to as far as that, and everybody's on pretty much an even footing. So fantastic stuff. Great win and great drive along the way, mate. So well done, over 200 laps, and leading so many of them, starting from first, finishing from first, and fantastic stuff. So thanks for that, Neil Pearson.
Thanks, mate.
So there we go. First place getter Neil Pearson, and he had fantastic drive tonight, battling with Micklemore earlier and a couple of other people along the way. But patience has shone through, and 124 laps led from first to first, and great stuff to see. So, Matt, what do you sort of take out of tonight?
Oh, definitely a long race, that's for sure.
It is.
Ebbed and flowed, really. He was pretty busy caution-wise in the beginning of the race and settled down and a little bit more boring, I guess you could say, in the middle, but then fired up near the end again. So that was good. Really awesome to see different names up the front, with these open setups that help, obviously, do that. But
As we said, young Button back up the front there again.
yeah, exactly. And then Nigel Patton as well. Really strong run.
Nigel, he had a strong run tonight. He was battling at the front there for, well, probably at least 2/3 of the race.
I'm just sort of debating whether we want to do maybe another quick little interview, just a really quick one, and grab Nigel up here and just have a quick little yarn to
By
him.
all means, yep, drag him up.
Let's go grab him. Yeah, we're totally surprised.
Nigel Payton.
Yes.
How are you?
Good, thanks, Steve.
Good to get you in the booth. We just decided to do another interview, and Matt wanted to actually get you up here and have a talk with you. You drove pretty well. You battled through at least 2/3 of the race there tonight at the pointy end. With the open setup, how did you find it?
Very good. Yeah, it was good fun. Had a really good set. The car was spot on. Pretty easy to drive, actually. So I've got no skill in it, so made it pretty easy. So it was good fun, but.
No, look, it was a good drive. I mean, you were battling a couple of times there, even late in the race. I think you were a chance at a podium. which would have been something you'd have been happy about. But yeah, look, you had a fairly clean race tonight. The car looks fairly clean. You didn't have any major incidents or anything that I'm aware of.
No, it was pretty good. I was running top 5 or something, and on that restart with Hobbo, and he was on the outside of me, and I just turned a little bit too sharp coming out of 3, and that cut me across the infield, and that dropped me down to 20th, so I had to drive back through the field a bit, so it was pretty good. And then I caught up in that late bit of action and sort of T-boned poor old Jace Martin a bit. That damaged my car, so I didn't have much at the end, but it was good.
Yeah, well, that was Jason actually sort of got involved in that incident by going up the back of Neil Pearson when he turned Hobbo, and he basically had nowhere to go, and he hit the back of Neil Pearson and just went spearing across the track. So yeah, probably not a lot that anybody could have done about that. You had nowhere to go. He had no real choice in the matter. So
Yeah,
it was just one of those unfortunate things that happens.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, that first half of the race was pretty messy, but you managed to seem to get around or avoid most of it by being behind you, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, it makes a difference when you're up the front. Everything sort of usually happens behind us when you're up there, so it was really good. Like I said, the car was good.
You led 30 laps, so that's no mean feat in this race against this company.
Yeah,
you
like
dropped back as far as 23rd through pit stops and whatnot, but ran first there for a while, led 30 laps, started 6th, and finished, fourth?
Fourth, yeah.
that all round, mate, sounds like a good night to me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm very happy with fourth, but with the car we had, I think the whole team could have. I think Raymond would have been pretty close, and Justin at the end got caught up in a few issues and cost him probably a higher place. So
yeah, unfortunately, that incident was him and Andrew Dyson coming together, and with the two of them speared across the infield, and Justin ended up actually nosing it at speed into the infield wall at the pit exit. So that basically was put paid to his race, which was a real shame because he was racing strong, and he was actually challenging for position. Him and Dyso were fighting over, was it third place, I think, at the time. So
yeah, I think so.
With only something like 12 or 13 laps to go, and they figured it was the time to move, and Dyso took the spot off him, and he decided he wanted it back, and unfortunately it worked out the way it did. So real shame. But look, fantastic drive from you tonight. You want to give anybody a shout out?
Just the boys in the team, Pinnacle Esports guys, Greg, Raymond, Justin and Matt. The boys at Edge setups have really done well this week. They tweaked our setup and it was just like glued to the track. It was great. So thanks to them, and thanks to you boys and ANZCAR and Ed and all the guys for running the series. So it's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries at all. Thanks, Nigel Payton. Is it Payton or Patton?
Payton.
Yeah, I thought so. I've always said Payton, but other people say Patton.
Yeah, that's right.
But to me, that would be two T's. So I've always said Payton, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I figured I'll ask him one day and find out. Well, there you go. No worries, mate. Look, congrats again on a great drive, and that also, the fourth place gives you a great haul of points for the championship. And going through to next week and back to fixed setups, it's going to be a handy fourth position.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, boys.
No worries. Thanks, Nigel. So there we go. That's our fourth place sitter, Nigel Payton. And he drove a really good race tonight. As I said, led 30 laps. Was always pretty much at the pointy end for at least 2/3 of that race. And back and forth through the field a couple of times through pit stops, as most did. I think all the front runners dropped way back through the field at some point or other, and then found their way back again. So fantastic drives from a few people there, Matt.
Yeah, definitely indeed. Yeah, good to see people sort of going down through the field and working their way back up. And I guess that's a product of the open setups and stuff, and everyone's different strategies with it.
Yep. So a good haul of points for those guys there, and in fact anybody who finished in the top 10 tonight. Norman Clark, who came up 21 spots to finish in 7th, he's going to be happy with that result. And young Button finishing in about 6th or something. So I bet he's surprised to see himself up that far at the end of the race. So he'd be pretty stoked. So yes, some good performances out there. Yeah, the usual things with people taking unnecessary risks early on, but that's what makes it exciting, and it changes the course of the race and stuff like that. So where is it we're off to next week, Matt? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yep, next week. So I just wanted to check up a screenshot. I didn't do the screenshot very well in my rush, but yeah, we're actually off to Gateway, so Worldwide Technology Speedway next week.
Ah, okay, yeah, it's one of the first tracks I actually raced with years ago when I came over with ANZCAR, and I think the first race or second race I did there, it was at Homestead. Sorry, no,
Gateway.
I'm thinking of Gateway. Sorry, yeah, at
Yep.
Gateway, and yeah, I think about once every 3 laps I hit the wall coming out of turn 1. So there was a bit of a wall there that juts out or something, and I just seemed to hit it every single time I came through there. So it's a track I don't mind. It's like several others. I mean, I enjoy running there. I just never had any success at it. Texas is one of actually a track I like racing at, and you know, that's one of those tracks where coming into turn 4, the wall and I are on first name basis. So you get things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see who actually wants to, well, who's got their act together for Gateway on fixed setups again after a night here on opens.
It will be indeed, yeah. Yep, that'll be one to look forward to.
Definitely a different track to race on. Regardless of anything else, it's open setups here and then closed setups at fixed setups at Gateway. It's really chalk and cheese. So it's going to be interesting to see who can actually either get back to the front from not being there tonight or maintain that run that they've actually had here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Will be indeed.
So look, I think we're pretty much wrapped up here. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for taking part in the social media. Thanks very much to Mark the Swede Johansson. As tired as he was, and he'd been up for something like 18 hours or something by the time we started. So thanks very much for him sitting in tonight. And get well, Carl. Take care of what you've got to take care of and get that sorted out. We'd all like to see you back for one reason or another. We're just used to your voice and the way you do things. I don't mind doing it and all that, but it's Carl's seat, and I think he belongs in it. So
He does. He's keeping it, we're all just keeping it warm for him.
Yep, we are. So on behalf of ANZCAR and 24/7 Sim Services, thanks very much for joining us tonight from Charlotte Motor Speedway. 200 laps done and dusted. We've got our winners, we've got our losers, and we've got those who wish they'd done it differently. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Good night.